Now, press 1. To hear important instructions, press 2.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
Show will go live.
I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be alright, Nicky. Go ahead. Shoot.
You just killed a little fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. Lobito! Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.
All right. Welcome everybody to BDA Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. This is your good friend, Mr. BDA, flying solo for the moment. We'll get right down to what we just saw. Perhaps one of the most bizarre press conferences I've ever seen. Nothing outlandish happened, but it was just the lack of outlandishness that made it all bizarre. But listen, before we get down to that, a lot of questions, open phone lines, maybe even a StreamYard. I'm working on that. Get your thoughts on what we just saw, because it was quite bizarre. Open lines, Monday special edition. Fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Before we get down to that, fellas, don't forget, if you want to keep the gravy train rolling, a couple of shekels you could send our way if you want. You can do it via Super Chat, the Discord, the Patreon page or the PayPal page. But the most important thing, fellas, you continue to subscribe, hit the like button, and continue to spread the BDA gospel. Shout out to Jonathan Kidder, Uncle Burnt Apostrophe, K Bean, Ivan M, Redman, Reverend Pickles, Sea Lion, I Am Phil, The Quags, Triple JJJ, Potato Base, and many more to come, I'm sure, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Shout out to Michael Poe, who just donated the contribution. Shout out to Michael Poe. Says, somebody get me a carton of cigarettes. Yeah, sure, why not, man? Well, save that money and get yourself some cigarettes, man. Although those things will kill you, so might as well donate to us. Michael Poe says, Teo's got COVID-19 and some speculated that it's a ruse because ticket sales are bad. Well, it could be. We're going to get into that if we've got time. Hold on a second. Let me just call Bucho here. And again, very bizarre. Bucho, don't answer yet, man. I'm going to call... shit. I'm going to create another group here. There we go. Bucho, you there? Okay. Well, we'll see if he's there soon. Let me get Gonzalo and Jimmy. But yeah, we're going to open up the phone lines as well. Because we want to get your thoughts on this. Cone B. Cruz says, to be fair, I'd rather Wilder be quiet, better than rambling on about nothing. Rinnegan Sensei says, he was listening to twerking music. Yeah, let me just clarify something real quick. Because I've said before, and I've said a number of times, I don't like clownish behavior during press conferences. But if there was a time for clown type antics, it was this press conference. Because let me tell you something, very few people are looking forward to the fight. Most people expect it to be a mismatch. So now was the time for Wilder. But the fact that he stayed quiet, it was bizarre. All right, I got Bucho, I got Jimmy, and more people to come. Jimmy, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
How you doing, man? Thank you for being on. Did you catch the conference, the press conference?
Yeah, Wilder with his headphones on, scared shit somebody was going to ask him about all the stupid accusations.
Yeah, what did you make of that? What did you make of the whole trying to be coy?
I mean, when you wear headphones like that, you're obviously telling everybody you don't want to answer questions because he knows what they're going to be. He knows any reporter worth their weight in spit. The first thing I'd say, so are you worried he's going to load his gloves again? Like, that's the first thing any reporter should ask him. But how is he going to answer that without looking like a fucking donkey? So he's pulling the silent man routine. And, he's got some kid stuck on stupid behind him going, two-time. Shut up.
What was the reference? I didn't get it. Two-time. What does that mean?
Two-time world champion. Meaning he's going to win his title back.
Well,
Yeah, he could have articulated that a little better, but I think it was Marcellus. I think it was his brother.
No, I think it was that dude that goes around threatening people. The guy that threatened Sugar Hill. I think that was the guy.
Who? Tay Jones?
Yes, him. Yes.
Right, Tay Jones. Oh, really? No kid. Well, I know he's become very tight with 78 Sports, that dog breeder, that dog fight breeder.
Hey, dog. What is it? What's the expression? Feathers. What? When feathers stick together, dogs of a feather. What's it called, man? What's the expression, Jimmy? You know,
birds of a feather stick together.
What did I say? Dogs? What the fuck? I'm as drunk as everybody else here. But Jimmy. So, what did you make of that? That Wilder with the ear. So you think it was a strategy of not wanting to answer questions?
Yes, he's going to play this one closer to vest, not speak. I would imagine. I mean, again, if you were him, all that ridiculous, unsubstantiated accusation he made against so many people, how can he answer those? How can he answer those with a straight face? You know, and not look like a complete fucking asshole. So he's going to probably try to stay silent. That's my take.
Yeah, and they said that this is going to be the only press conference from here until the fight.
I don't know. I don't know that.
I think that's what I heard.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, but this way, if you were Wilder's people, would you want him fucking answering questions?
He doesn't look like he's Butcher, go ahead, man.
No, I mean, if you have a second press conference, what's the point?
Sorry, you're sounding very low, man.
Shit.
All right, let's get. By the way, fellas, the phone lines are open. If you want to call in and give us your thoughts on this, recognize. Were you a little disappointed in this press conference? Because I mean, if there was a time for a circus act, this was it, right?
Yeah, I was hoping Wilder said something, but he didn't. Kept his mouth shut. The stare down was the most interesting part, but I mean, if you ask me, they stood a little. It was a little too long for them to be staring at each other like that. I mean, I wouldn't be staring at another fucking man like that.
It was creepy, right?
Yeah, it is kind of creepy. It's like, what are you really proving? Tyson Fury looks like. I mean, I don't know why he took his fucking shirt off. I didn't see that part when he took his shirt off, but yeah, it was just it could have been better. I mean, it's like what sold, and I'm sure it's gonna sell. But what sold the two fights were like their big personality. But you got Wilder real silent. You know, like a guy he's hiding something. You know, like almost hiding something. That's how quiet he is. It looks like he was advised to be, don't say nothing. And you got Tay Jones, two times. How come somebody just didn't be like witty and be like, yo, you sound retarded, man? Is that the only word you know how to say, 2 times?
Yeah, Fury's family was sort of intimating, like, hey, man, like they were talking to him saying, why are you talking shit? You know, if you want to talk shit, we'll talk shit from the sidelines too. That's talking shit from the sidelines. What the hell is this guy going to do? Is he really going to try to jump Sugar Hill after everything he said? Because if he does, this motherfucker's going to stay behind. He's going to be watching the aftermath behind bars, man.
Not only that, he'll get beat up he'll get beat up too. He's a little man compared to these dudes.
That's right.
These dudes are you see the size of Tyson Fury's family. They're just big men. They'll fuck him up like they did Marcellus Wallace.
Oh, and by the way, when they were staring down and they finally went, you know, the security guards finally went in there to separate them. Wilder's friend and bodyguard was like, "No, you ain't touching him. Ain't nobody putting hands on my man," or something. He said something to that effect. I heard. I couldn't hear if he actually said "my man" or that, but he was like, "No, you ain't putting hands on him." I was like, "Oh, how more feminine can these guys get, man?"
Yeah, I mean, listen, they that's a big dude that they had there. They have a little different approach about dealing with them because they know what happened the last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever saw that big dude, the guy that they had. I don't know if he was high security.
I didn't see him last time.
Yeah, so he's pretty new. So they you know, it's just the respect factor of they're not going to admit it because they're clowns, right? And in a sense that they will never admit, look, man, we respect the shit out of that family, bro. That family, they showed us that if we want to get down, they'll get down too. So what they did was they just hired this big dude who's, he looked like the biggest man on the stage in terms of like body weight. So he could be a problem, but they hired him because they're afraid. That's all.
I would have, that big dude, if I were Tyson Fury's family, I would have gone up to the big dude, poked him in the chest. What the fuck are you doing here? Get the fuck out. That's what I would have done. Real quick, man. Real quick.
Fucking circus is in town.
Yeah, the Addams family showed up. All right, listen, fellas, let's go to the phone lines real quick here. Because we got a lot of people calling. Don't forget to hit the like button, fellas. 347, you're on the air. 347, what's on your mind? Oh, shit, hold on a second. 347, yes.
Yo, you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man. What's on your mind? What'd you think of the press conference?
Bro, that was like some weirdo stuff, man. And Tay Jones, man, he should get knocked out, man. I want him to see him knocked out one of these days. I wanted to see Marcellus Wilder there too. So, him and Fury's team to get into like a little scuffle or whatever, it didn't happen. And I'm a AJ fan, but I'm really rooting for Fury. And it was just more of, how do you say, it was more, like, it really made me, I guess, more confident that Fury is going to win because the way Wilder's acting, not talking, having headphones on, walking away, etc., etc. So, Fury's going to knock him out. Should be easy work, And literally, Wilder was saying all this stuff in interviews and everything, and this was your time to shine. This was your time to spit it all out, and he said nothing.
That's a good point.
So, Wilder, he literally, he's going to get knocked out. You can see that he's scared. Even his trainer was not even really defending him good. Even his trainer, bro. His trainer got busted up by Fury in sparring. And I understand, and a lot of people, who get beat a lot and everything, they act like they know more than you. Like, how are you supposed to tell Wilder what he's supposed to do if you don't really know that much about boxing either? Because you like, who did
All right, well, listen, caller, before we go, man, before we let you go, early prediction, Fury Wilder 3, what's going to happen? What's your prediction? He dropped that. All right.
I think the way he was talking, he got Fury knocking out Wilder.
Yeah, that's what I would have assumed, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. He did actually say that. He says, "Well, I hope he knocks him out."
Yeah.
I thought he actually said he's gonna knock him out.
Yes,
he said something. He said something to the effect that you can tell Tyson Fury's gonna knock him out again.
Yeah, that's what I. Hey, by the way, shout out to Michael Poe. Says, I'm telling everybody now to bet Fury to get KO'd 8th or 9th round. There is no questions like you're explaining because it's a fix. Oh, Michael Poe is still saying that this fight, there's shenanigans are going to be occurring and that Fury is getting knocked out. Shout out to Truth Son for his contribution as well. Via the super chat says testicles of the same feather are stuck together. I'm going to steal that one, Truth Son, if you don't mind. Shout out to Truth Son for his contribution. And I thought there was somebody else. All right, real quick, because again, we got phone calls here. People want to talk about this. Let's go to 858. 858, you're on the air. What's on your mind? What did you think of the press conference, rather?
I didn't get a chance to catch it, but as far as the fight, I think Fury's going to stop him in 5.
5? Whoa.
I think most people know. I think even Wilder knows he's probably going to lose. My question to you guys is, is Wilder done after this? I don't know if he can get another big fight after this. Who else does he have? Can he go down in weight, or is this pretty much it if he loses?
It all depends on how assuming that he loses the fight, it's all about how he loses that fight. If he loses that fight in a value, effort, he gives a good show of himself, I don't think he's done. I think he could continue. Now, if he gets embarrassed, similar to what happened in the first, the rematch, excuse me, then of course, the question becomes, how can he come back from that, right? But if he was to, and again, I say assuming he loses, right, because we got to have the fight happen first. If he gives a good effort, he let's say he goes the distance but loses, and he's fighting back and he's winning some rounds, I think he'll be all right.
Anything else,
Yeah,
caller?
I agree. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your call, man, and call back next time, right, man? Catch you later.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Sorry about that, Jimmy. You were going to add something before we get to another call?
No, I was just going to say I agree with what Recognize was saying. I mean, he has to put a good show of himself because remember, if he gets clowned again, not only does he lose this fight, but then that completely negates all his excuses. You know what I mean?
True.
So now it's like he's going to be dealing with it all. I just don't think he's emotionally stable enough to deal with it. I think if he loses this fight and loses it badly, he's just going to probably just disappear.
Two-time. That's what the...
Two-time.
Hey, listen.
Two-time idiot.
I don't put it...
Two-time.
I don't put it past Wilder to win this fight. I mean, he can always connect, but that was the narrative going to the second one, right? And hey, if he can land, well, he couldn't. Real quick, let's go to 351. 35. Hold on a second. It's loading up. 351. You're on the air. 351.
Yo, you can hear me?
Yo.
Yes. 351.
What's up, BDA? Mike Pope.
How you doing, man? What's
going on?
Well, we'll just sit here talking about that press conference. What did you think of the press conference?
Yeah. That's ridiculous. I thought more would be exposed. I thought they'd bring up the stuff from the past more. I'm just going off a theory, of a half a theory, and then somebody else's theory. I'm not full in belief that the second fight was completely fixed because you don't do a 7-round beatdown. That's just impossible to calculate how much you're going to hurt the person. But I believe a fix is in. And I think if Fury's the next to lose, he could just stay down. He'll take a punch and stay down.
Oh, that's...
If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. He'll win. There should be no reason he shouldn't win. But if Wilder goes in there dancing like a butterfly and stinging like a bee, then there's something not right.
Well, listen, I mean, you're creating...
I don't know.
You're creating a bit of intrigue there, Michael. But listen, we got to move on to another call because I'm having a bit of a hard time hearing you. But yeah, go ahead. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
I'm trying to walk around to get a better signal. How about now?
You're still breaking up a little bit.
Little
Tell you what. Call back later. All right, man.
I'll call back later. I got my message out. Thank you for answering anyway.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And thank you for your prediction right off the bat. He's got an interesting theory, man. Interesting conspiracy theories. I'm always into those. Why not? Let's go to another phone call real quick. 484. You're on the air. 484. What's on your mind? 484. Nah, dropped out. All right, let's go to 937. 93. Come on. 937. You're on the air. 937. What's on your mind?
That's me. Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing, man? What'd you think of the press conference?
I was going to say, Wilder didn't talk because the headphones were too heavy.
Wilder couldn't talk because the headphones were too heavy.
I'm just playing.
The headphones are too heavy.
No, I'm pissed off because he just took an hour of my life away. I mean, I've always felt like, conspiracies aside, that Wilder is just really, really insecure, and he's got a very, very fragile ego. So to see him just sit up there and not say anything, and I mean, like, whether you love boxing, hate boxing, if you're trying to get as many people as you can to watch the show, then you got to sell it. And all he used to bitch about before he fought Fury was how I can't sell a show. I'm tired of having to be the only person to sell the show. Well, your opportunity was there, and you just sat there. So I'm pissed off. I hope he gets knocked out again.
I thought you were gonna say, I hope he gets 8. I was gonna say, wow, that's a little bit too much, man. But yeah, man, I mean,
did he say anything? I didn't see the whole thing.
Nobody.
You didn't say a word, Jimmy.
I don't want nobody to get 8.
What's that?
But
You didn't say a word.
I'm just
not a word out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Hey, can you guys hear the caller, by the way?
I can't.
Oh, you can't?
I don't hear him.
All right. But yeah, but listen, caller, you're right, man. It's I was hyped up for the press conference because, like I said, I usually don't like wild press conferences, but for this one, I said, look, it's a fight that nobody really wants to see. Make it entertaining at least. Make the build-up. And no, just Wilder there trying to be coy. Malik Scott getting schooled by Fury. Malik Scott sounds like a nice guy. It's like he's not in his nature to be confrontational and all that. But I mean, do you think Wilder threw him under the bus? Do you think he told him before the press conference, hey, you're going to do all the talking?
What? It's so irritating because Wilder's talked all this shit about Glovegate and all these bullshit excuses. You just had the opportunity to say, to point at him, look him in the eye and go, you're a cheater, you stole my belt, you used the egg weight, whatever the hell excuses he uses. And he didn't do nothing. He just sat there like a little, it just shows how insecure and how fragile his ego is.
I agree.
Sitting there, I'm not going to say nothing. I don't want him to get in my head.
Yeah,
he does because Carly doesn't want to be put on blast for being a liar. He can't justify anything he said. He can't. It's unsubstantiated. Yeah. So in that position, never mind the fact. What happens if they ask him about what he said about the Europe's second largest minority? You know what I mean, or the largest. You know what I mean? That was pretty damn racist. So he's got a lot of shit people could ask him, make him look bad on.
That's right. Well, listen, caller. We're going to move on to another call. I agree with what you said. The press conference was disappointing. It took an hour out of our lives, and now we get to complain about it. So thank you for your call. Call back next time, right, man? Catch you in the next one.
Later.
Take it easy, man. Take it easy. Yeah, bye. Tyson Fury was going after everybody. Should call him Tyson Fury. All right, let's go to 620.
That laugh.
All right, 620. You're on the air. 620. What did you think of the press conference?
Hey, what's up? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, man.
Yeah, man. I just found it real interesting. The last interview Deontay Wilder gave, he had so much to say. Every interview, this guy has spilled his guts. He's talked so much. And then when the rubber meets the road and it's time to really talk, he's quiet as a church mouse. He wants to even give off the notion that he can't even hear what Tyson Fury has to say. He looked bad today out there, and if you're gonna talk that kind of shit, at least attempt to stand by it. I will admit this though, that he was smart to keep his mouth shut, and that's very telling because it tells everybody one thing: he don't even believe that garbage. Because if he's always preaching about the truth, then the truth will set you free. Why doesn't he talk about the truth? If it's the truth, man, Fury's going to do exactly what he said. It's going to be a 18-wheeler smash.
You brought up an excellent point, man.
That's what I got to say.
You brought up an excellent point, man. Real good Midwest logic right there, let me tell you. Because it's true, guys, right? Like, what do you think about what the college just said? Like, he's always talking about the truth and this and that. And then all of a sudden, when it comes time to face the truth, he keeps his yap shut.
The truth, is the wonderful thing about telling truth is that it never, you can pull it out whenever, okay? Whenever the opportunity presents itself, the truth is the truth. You can't, play with that. He lied. He was embarrassed. He was beat up. He was humiliated, and then he started to humiliate himself. When people start spiraling out of control, that's what they usually do. They make an ass out of themselves. So maybe he knows that. He looks bad. Right. Here's one thing that maybe could save him is that he's like, look, I don't want to admit anything. But I know that obviously he can't lie to himself. He knows he's a liar, so he doesn't want to apologize. And then his sick fans turn their back on him. That's what he's probably thinking. But he's like, look, let me make amends in this fight. That type of thing. I just won't say anything. And at the end of the fight, whatever happens, I'll do it respectfully, no matter what the outcome is. Maybe that's the road he's taking. I doubt it.
Yes, sir.
But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Like I said, we all wanted him to say what he's been saying. We all wanted that. But he knows, and like I said, I got to be honest, it's smart to not say anything at all. But he's taking the route which he should have taken a long time ago. He'll talk all that shit behind the scenes, but when it comes down to it, nothing. So that's all I got, guys. Love the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you for calling in. Catch you on the next one. Call back again. Very good points.
All right.
All right. Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, maybe he'll keep making the good changes that he needs to do, and maybe he'll actually fight better than he did the second time. You never know, right? I mean, hey, anything can happen. Let's go to another phone call real quick here. Don't forget to hit the like button, fellas. Don't forget to hit the like. 917, you're on the air. 917. What'd you think of the press conference?
Hey, you guys can hear me?
Yes, indeed. What'd you think of the press conference, my friend?
Hello? Yeah, to be honest, it was kind of anticlimactic. I was hoping for more. I was hoping for some back and forth, you know. Wilder stayed quiet. He had the headphones in. And I get what he was trying to do, but nah, like it's not really helping the lead up, in my opinion. The only thing that saved the press conference is probably the face-off at the end. Both of them hanging in there, trying to, you know, wait it out as long as possible. But, I mean, what do you guys agree? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, somebody jump in here. Did you think that this was the time to sell the fight and they failed completely? Or?
Yes. Wilder could have said something, but he can't. He doesn't want to. You know, he froze. I've seen him freeze a couple of times when it comes to Fury, right? Freeze, Fury, kind of makes sense. Anyway, he has froze twice already on the biggest stage, the rematch. I thought that's what happened to him. I'm not making excuses why he lost. I think that dude had a panic attack. Like, you know, as the fight was going along, as he was coming in the ring, it was time. It was time to face the guy you claiming you're going to knock out in the rematch. And this time around, you know, when he's in the press conference, after taking a big beating from Fury in the second fight, and now they're leading up to the third fight, you said a lot of shit. You said a lot of stuff, and he didn't say anything. Is he taking a different road, though? Is this his new road that he feels comfortable going into a fight with him? In other words, don't say too much. Just prove it in the ring. It could be. But he's looking to me like a guy who froze. And at the end of the day, he did that 6 minute stare down. Excuse me. It felt like 6 hours. 6 minute stare down, only to turn away in the end first.
That's true, man. Yeah, that's absolutely.
Yeah, I really think the trainer should have broke that up and just spared us all the waste of time.
I agree, man.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It was entertaining at some point, but like, just break it up just for the sake of Wilder. I mean, it was kind of awkward at one point. The lady was trying to ask him to turn around. They were just like, you know, just staring.
Two-time.
But yeah, I don't really have a motivation. Like, of course, I'm gonna watch it. You know, I'm a boxing fan, but it's really gonna hurt to shell out some money on this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just can kind of see what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know.
Well, listen, we'll keep our eye on that to see, because they're going to keep talking to the press. There might not be any more press conferences, but they will continue talking and making videos. So we're going to keep an eye on it. Listen, caller, thank you for your call, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right, man? Have a good one.
By the way, that woman was Kelly Swanson, PBC's Kelly Swanson.
Oh, was that? Okay. Because I didn't see her on camera, but I recognized the voice. I say, is that her? Is that?
Yeah.
Isn't she the racist?
Yes, she is.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't want to hire people to do stories about the problems of black people on.
And she works for Al Heyman too at the same time, right?
Yeah. But again, that's barbershop conversation. I mean, he's a race hustling shitbag, but that's what it is.
Oh.
We got anybody up on deck? Any other callers?
No, but let me just read a couple of super chats real quick here. Truth Son, shout out to Truth Son, says, strange thing is that before Fury Wilder 2, Fury said, I will rise like a phoenix from the ashes. He won. Now Wilder is saying the same after his loss/fix. Very good point, Truth Son. You never know how these things could work
very out. Illuminati terms, you know.
Yeah, a little wearing. Michael Poe, shout out to Michael.
Esoteric.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to Michael Povia. His super chat. He says, "Mark, is he on? Is he okay?" And he knows what I'm saying, along with IQ. I don't really know what that means, but yeah, I've seen Mark around a couple of streams, so I'm pretty sure he's doing okay. Good review to ask. Shout out to Kenshiro, who says, "Recognize, please stop talking sense in regards to Wilder." Yeah, man, you guys are making a little bit too much sense. Jimmy, you want to partake in something here?
I'm sorry.
What's that? No, I just was saying that was I think I just wanted to say that was Swanson. I think it was Recognize who had something to say. No,
I'm just saying. The name rang a bell. Kelly Swanson.
Yeah, she's in charge of handing out credentials. Like Evan Korn is in charge of handing out credentials for Top Rank. She's in charge of handing out credentials and actually media PR.
Well,
Same
listen,
position, but yeah, with PBC.
We got phoenixes, we got swans. I mean, something's going on here. It's like we're at the park. But look, one thing we're gonna do is this. I didn't want to do this, but since the Wilder Fury 3 tour, whatever, has kicked off, I'm not always in charge. We're not always in charge here. We do have bosses. We have become a corporate entity. There's been a merger, and we've got the BDA board of directors who tell us what to do. Well, they told us we got to play this message. All right? They told us we got to play this message. So, guys, please mute your mic. We got to play a emergency service announcement. All right? So it'll take a couple of seconds. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the build-up to the Fury vs. Wilder rubber match. Racism, homophobia and other forms of Class 4 bigotry have been authorized for use during the build-up. All other attacks are restricted. YouTube personalities of ranking 10 have been granted immunity from the build-up and shall not be harmed. Commencing at the siren, all forms of attacks will be legal for the next month. Google, YouTube and other moderation services will be unavailable until July the 25th when the build-up ends. Blessed be the BDA Board of Directors and YouTube, a social media site reborn. May God be with you all.
Shit.
All right. Well,
Keep going with the siren. Yeah, the siren's the best there.
Listen, I don't condone anything of
That was good, man.
We
have 1 month of this shit.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit too wild for my taste. What do you fellas think?
Well, let me start offending people then.
Yeah, you were ready to go. Huh? Now listen, I don't condone
Go after
anything.
me, Butcher, you motherfucker. I'm wondering how the LTBC is looking at this fight, though. I'm pretty sure they're thinking that, Wilder's doing the right thing. He's playing it cool. He has like some trick up his sleeve.
Let's be honest, Bucho. They're shaking in their panties. Most of these fanatics,
I don't know, man.
These fanatics are shaking. Okay, because you gotta go into this fight saying, "Man, he beat the shit out of you in the second fight," right? I don't care what they say in public, but like in their mind, they gotta be like, "Man, he really took it to you in that second fight." And he was more likely going to try to do the same thing again. He's going to go in there. He's going to respect you, obviously, yeah, but he's not afraid of you. He's not going to fight afraid to try to win on points. He's going to try to hurt you. And that's got to be messing with them because they put a lot on the line. They talked a lot of shit. Look, I don't like Wilder. I don't like his fans.
No.
If he beats Fury, and I can only speak for myself, it's not going to change the fact that I said a long, long time ago, no way this dude goes undefeated. He's not that good. No fucking way. So that'll never go away. So even if he loses, now if he loses again to the same guy, think about all the excuses they make. Then what do they have?
Yeah,
they got to start all over. They got nothing. Now they got to start all over again. Look for new guys' nuts to hang off. Mm-hmm. And that's it,
Yeah, man.
They need to approach the fight from a different angle, and also Wilder has to approach this fight differently. Obviously, for obvious reasons, like tactically, he has to make some changes. But I think he wants to make Fury believe that he's a changed man outside the ring. That's where it all starts, right? The press conference, and then it ends up the fight happening in the ring. But from outside, like, this is what Wilder wants. I think I'm a new man. He thanked Jesus Christ. Before, he wasn't even talking about Jesus Christ. Now he is. And yeah, he wants to make Fury believe that he has some tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
he's trying to hustle it, right? That's what he's trying to. Because look, that's what all fighters do. They have to reinvent themselves in some way or some form or another. So a new trainer,
right?
New
Even
manager.
physically. Sorry to interrupt, but even his hair has changed. I know some people. It's like, well, what are you talking about? But it's true though. He looks at himself in the mirror every day. So even some certain changes, like his hair being longer, that he sees a different person.
Bucho, it's called faking it till you make it.
That's right.
Exactly. That's what it is, man. But
it doesn't change the fact that no matter what happens at the end, we told you, people who are just being boxing fans and giving their honest opinion, with that style of fighting, no way he goes undefeated. We were very, very, at least I was, I know, we were very adamant about that. There is no way you put him in there with good fighters and this guy goes undefeated with that sloppy style. So if Wilder wins this fight, it's because he changed his style. Remember what these guys said? He doesn't need to know how to box. He doesn't need to change his style. Okay? Yes, he does. He's going to have to. You're going to see. Mark my word, if Wilder wins this fight, it's because he had a couple of different approaches of how to approach this fight. He's going to use the jab more. Okay, he's going to fight off the jab. It's not going to be one punch at a time. Okay, I guarantee you, if he wins, I don't think he is, but if he does, it's going to be because of that, which defeats the narrative that all he needed was his power, because that already got thrown out the bus in the rematch.
That's right.
Great fucking point, man. Great fucking point. Because remember, his fans were like, "Oh yeah, we know that Wilder doesn't have any skills. He's very limited, but he has that right hand, and that's all he needs." That's what they kept saying. That's all he needs. Obviously, like you said, it wasn't true.
Of course not. Of course not. We knew that. We knew that he was going to get. He keeps fighting these top B-level fighters. He's going to get knocked out. He's going to get fucked up. One of them is going to expose him, and he did. He got exposed.
Well, listen, check out the video that we did called Wilder Can Win, where we try to form a path for Wilder, some of the things on paper, some of the things he can do to win. Because again, he's fighting a human being. He can be beaten, but it's a big if. But there is a possibility right there. Real quick, let's go to 5-1. Hold on a second. 510. You're on the air. 510. A lot of noise there. 510. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you guys hear it?
Yeah, we can hear you, man. Well, yeah, but there's a lot of background noise.
Like a hurricane where you at, man?
The hell's going on?
Did you decide to clean the basement and call the show all simultaneously?
Well, hold on. Let's see if we can hear him. Yes. Yeah, we can hear you, man. Go ahead.
I think that's Ross Clark, man. What's up, Ross? That's you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say great show, especially yesterday with all that Johnny shit.
Well, yeah, yesterday was a big drama show.
Is it too loud for you guys?
Is this? No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead, man.
Are you probably...
okay. Yeah, I just wanted to see, did anybody know what Malik Scott said about supposedly getting his eardrum broken as well?
Yeah, what he said was that he'd gotten his eardrum busted by Fury when they sparred the first day, because what Fury had said was, I forget how they brought it up actually, but he was trying to make some of point about how, well, I got my eardrum busted. That's nothing to be ashamed of. That's what happens, because they were getting into it about whether he could change Wilder as a fighter. So, yeah, but Caller, what did you think of
whether if he changed his trainer?
No, whether the trainer could make a difference.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He was making a point about whether the.
Honestly, I don't believe Malik Scott. Yeah, I don't believe Malik Scott can do much of a difference at all. If anything, Actually, I think once Deontay Wilder gets smacked, he's gonna revert back to the same stuff.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was going to say I agree 100%. I think he's going to go in there with all kinds of, plan A, plan B, and until he gets rocked, and then he's just going to start loading up. And if Fury does the same thing, just doesn't let him load up and just, doesn't give him that distance to get his punches off, yeah, I think it's not going to be a good night for him. If there's a boxing guard, there shouldn't be, because he karma-wise, he doesn't deserve to win.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
no, that's
all in all, I mean, really, like, what can Malik Scott teach him, except for, like, the man took a dive against him. Like, what could he actually teach him for him to actually win a Fury fight? I just don't see it.
He can teach him how to dive properly.
Come on. Oh, man. Fucking
now, we've seen those videos of Wilder now hitting the pads, something that he didn't even do properly before. But obviously, we know that's not enough. But, I mean, it's something, I guess. And that's getting Wilder fans very excited.
Yep, they're getting hyped up over there. Caller, we're on a delay here with you, so it's kind of hard to communicate. But last comment before we move on, please.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I just wanted to say thank you guys for a great show, and God bless Mateo, God bless Gonzalo.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Really appreciate those kind words, man.
Thank you, brother.
Enjoy the show. Take it easy, man. Thank you for calling in.
All right, take it easy.
All right, let me see. By the way, I'm having issues here. Let me see if I can hear. Ah, shit. Chief dropped.
I thought he was Rothclad. Remember that guy, Rothclad? He used to call in.
He sounds nothing like
He was
Rothclad.
90-0, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he sounded nothing like Rascal. I don't know where you got that from.
No, he did, but for a second when I saw the 510, that's what's that? I think that's the West Coast. And then his voice, I was like, oh shit, Ross, what's going on?
Recognize is the master of area codes, man. He knows he just down the first two numbers.
I got connections everywhere, bro.
No, but you know what? The caller brought up a good point.
Either that or you work at UPS.
That too.
Oh yeah, before I ask the question, real quick, shout out to Get These Hands, who says Fury is he donated with the super chat. He says Fury is gonna take a dive for the third fight. Screenshot this. Whoa.
I mean,
okay.
Let's see.
What's that all about?
Well, I don't know what that's about. I really don't. I mean, anything can happen in boxing. I'd rather just see the fight. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's the thing. I
think if anybody might take a dive, it's the other way around, and that's because
I don't know why that narrative's taking root with so many people. I don't see where it's what backs it, what's generated from.
I don't think it'll be a dive. I think there might be some fuckery. There's always a chance of that, but I don't know if Fury himself is going to take the dive. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that fight's going off before Usyk, Joshua, correct? That has a lot to do with it, because think about it, right? If say a dive, what would be the reason for him to do that? Obviously, financial to be the only thing. So that would mean, okay, we'll have a trilogy. Nobody wants this second fight. It's not going to make money, okay? So why the fuck, right? Why would anybody want a third fight when, if you're Fury, you're saying, I can go make $150 million from a site fee fighting Joshua, because in his mind, that's still, the next thing, if it all goes his plan. So I don't understand why so many calls, I get on Twitter and everybody's like, oh, they're just pushing for a fucking third fight. I'm like, but there's nothing that
they're looking at
supports that reason why.
You know what it is, Jimmy? They're looking at this as, they build up the unification, the undisputed fight, and now it's going. Now it changed the plans. It's going to Wilder, and then there might be some fuckery just because of that.
I understand that. I understand that, but why wouldn't they fucking go after the talk about
Jimmy,
the arbitrator?
I don't rule it out, but what I'm saying is you don't have any indication so far that that's the case. So far,
no, exactly. If anything, there would be there's more evidence to the other because there's so much more money.
Jimmy, Fury's the A side. The fight's on ESPN, right? It's on Top Rank. All right. So
no, this is a pay-per-view.
Oh, so it's a pay-per-view. Okay, but who's
Yep.
the A side? Who's the A side? Who's the A side?
Well, yes, because he's the winner. So obviously he'll pick, he gets to pick all those things exactly. So if he throws the fight, so then he loses his A side.
Jimmy, is it top rank top rank pay-per-view?
Well, it's a co-promotion with the PBC.
Okay, so it's a co-promotion.
Well, there's a co-promotion with the PBC. And the thing is that but I think ESPN will go first, like their pay-per-view. The following week, they'll probably put it on Showtime. And again, if Joshua wasn't in the distance, right? Like I'm a very pragmatic person. I always think, what would be the financial? Because at the end of the day, that's what's driving it. What's the financial benefit for Fury to sit back? Do I do something fuckery and get this third fight with Wilder when nobody wanted the second fight? When this second fight's going to lose money after they're done paying everything, nobody's making money off this fight. I guarantee you, when the numbers come out, everybody will see that. Or he can go by then. The fucking COVID restrictions will be lifted. Maybe they can pull it off in the UK. 90,000 people at Wimbledon. It would be historic. You know what I mean? If now he gets past Usyk, it's another ball of wax. Where it's fucking legendary status would come with that. You would be remembered in the laws of fucking UK boxing, or fucking go fight the Wilder in a fight that nobody's asking for a third time. So do you mean so I have to say to myself, could there be fuckery? I can't say there won't be. I have no proof to say otherwise. But pragmatically speaking, it makes no sense. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, there was fuckery in the first fight where most people thought he won that fight. And obviously the second fight, he took care of business. So, yeah. I mean,
but you said it right, though. You said it right, brother. You picked it right on them. You nailed it on the fucking head. Who was in the driving seat in the first fight? PBC. Who's in it, right? And that's the fight that was fuckery. Fucking Wilder shouldn't have got a draw on that. There was fuckery there. And it was a fucking draw. So you're right. This time it's a co-promotion. Fury's the fucking driving seat. So if there's a house fighter, it is Fury. So for that reason only, I would think it would be just pragmatically insane for him to do anything other than knock this loudmouth liar the fuck out and get him out of our lives. I'm just had enough of fucking Wilder.
Well, let me tell you, man, I'm going to be keeping my eye on things, and they know that BDA is watching, so they're going to have to
That's right. They know BDA is watching, and his cohort recognized the Matrix, who always thinks everything's a conspiracy, so no.
Exactly. They're not going
to recognize will catch it.
Exactly.
You know, if anybody will catch it, it's me. I'll be like,
Yep, you will.
They recognize Velcro because he catches it all, baby. You can't slip away from him. Shout out to Chris K for his contribution with the super chat. Says Fury KOs Beyonce and then goes into the AJ fight looking dangerous and creates a little more hype. Yeah, man, that's a possibility. Look, if he just beats the shit out of Wilder again, it's going to be a good look for and if Fury gets past AJ gets past Usyk, which is not a certainty. Real quick, also shout out to Truth Son. Shout out for his contribution as well. He says, yes, recognize, fake it and shake it. Shake it until you make it. Yeah, the fucking, whatchamacallit, the twerking there. From
that's right.
Yeah. And shout out to Michael Poe who says, recognize, dude, I respect you completely, but if Wilder wins, it's only because it's not on the up and up. It's all good. If Fury should win, no problem. It ain't happening if it's real. I don't know. Listen, I still think Wilder could win. I wouldn't put it past him to be able to pull this off. It's a big if, but he could do it, man. Real quick, we got a couple of phone calls as well here. Let's go to... People are hyped up for this one. Let me tell you. 337, you're on the air. 337. What'd you think of the press conference, my friend?
What's up, man? It's Dead Game. I think it was good, bro. Intense stare down. I think that's going to be the only press conference we're going to get. So, yeah, I think it was good.
Dead Game, you've been backing Wilder for a long time now, which I can respect. You stick by the guy, you don't flip-flop anything. But what did you make of the fact that Wilder made a 180-degree turn in terms of his character and just stayed quiet? Did that disconcern you a little bit, or did that give you confidence? Like, what'd you make of that?
Nah, I think what he's doing is he's you know, with all that the foolishness that came out, I think he's not dealing with the old media. I think he's gonna just deal with the YouTube media. You know, the us pretty much. You know what I'm saying? So whenever unless it's
not real media.
Unless it's PBC,
but they're not credentialed.
he's gonna deal with. It don't matter. He's just not dealing with old media anymore, bro.
And what is the?
I understand, but at press conferences, how can he has no opportunity because there's none of the LDBC aren't. They don't get credentialed for that, other than a couple of them.
Well, it don't matter, bro. It's just who he's going to give interviews to. It's who he's going to talk to, and definitely after he win this title, they all going to want to talk to him. But you know what I'm saying? They might not get a chance to. It might go to the people that was riding with him from the beginning.
Well, I got a question.
So in other words, he's going to be
talking in an echo chamber.
He's going to be vengeful because they said, "Damn, you got beat." Basically, he's calling what they saw. Their job is to call it like they see it. So he's being vengeful against them for doing their job, basically.
Same way he got Paulie Malignaggi fired. He literally got that guy fired from Showtime. For being honest.
Paulie Malignaggi is a racist, bro. Paulie Malignaggi is a racist.
Okay, yeah, all right. What he said was racist. If you take what he said as racist, dude, you have an agenda.
One at a time, please. Go ahead, Eddie Game.
Nah. So what I was saying, I mean, he's just going to deal with who he feel that was riding with him from the beginning. The old media was doing a lot of funky and foul stuff, making up a lot of bullshit about him. That's who brought out the costume thing was old media. He mentioned that to somebody else and they overheard it and ran with it. And took it out of context. And you looking at it like this. You looking at it like this. You're the American champ, right?
Oh, for sure.
Everybody's telling you not to. Everybody's telling you not to fight because they want to let two European UK guys fight, right?
Oh, for sure.
You're the American champ, and you got the American media is not wanting the American champ to get his get back. That makes no sense. It makes
they had a
sense.
rematch.
All the American media.
They already had a rematch.
All the American
they had
media
a first fight.
All the American media was mad. The American media was mad because Wilder had a contract, and they felt that the AJ fight was too big, and Wilder should step aside and fight later. Are you kidding me?
Can I ask again? So you think his actions? All right.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
All right.
Do what?
Okay. Does Dead Game not think Wilder's actions, the ridiculous, embarrassing to the sport shit that came out of his mouth that they were talking about on ESPN, laughing about the shit he was saying, how embarrassing that is to the sport. The stuff he said, unsubstantiated. And if he ever had a chance to say something, there was the man. Why did he turn it to the fucking Phoenix? No, that flamed the fuck out. He wore headphones and said nothing to the man that he publicly said stole his belt by felonious assault. So please, you can say what you want about old media to ride with him. The dude acted like a jackass, embarrassed himself in the sport, and maybe people who had some integrity handled it such. That's it.
I mean, the only jackass is Fury. He's the only clown, man. The dude is a clown. I mean, look at him. Wilder's means business, man. Wilder's, like I said, he's done with the old media. Wilder's the one running around like a clown. But nobody says anything about that.
You heard him. He said Wilder's running around like a clown.
Wilder is a clown.
You heard him.
I agree with you on that.
You heard him. He said Wilder's a clown.
And didn't Wilder fucking, you want to talk about racism, wasn't it Wilder who said an brutally racist comment about the gypsies? They're all crooks. Europe's largest minority, they're all crooks. And nobody said nothing. Where's all his fans that are so quick to pull a race card? How could they say, yo, champ, man, that shit was foul.
That was really foul. Y'all was quiet as fucking church mouses.
Yeah, but he pulled a gypsy from retirement that was on a coke bench and gave him an opportunity. So that doesn't add
you're
up, brother.
condoning
And what's that have to do with the 136 million gypsies he fucking debased?
Well, listen, Fury's giving Wilder another chance, so he should be grateful. Wilder shouldn't even be getting a third fight.
He's giving Wilder another chance after they're in breach of contract to get the rematch to begin with.
Well, listen. One last question for Dead Game here, because we do have to move on. So, just to clarify it, so you're looking at this fight from a racial perspective, right? Is this a racial fight for you?
Why would you say something like that?
I didn't say anything.
No, it's not a racial. It's not a racial fight. It's not a racial fight to me.
Right.
I'm a fan of Deontay Wilder, and I want him to win. It's not a racial fight.
There you got it. Just to clarify, it's not racial for a Dead Game. All right, Dead Game. Thank you for your call. We'll catch you in the next one, all right? Have a good one.
Peace.
Take it easy. Man, he's getting rambunctious now because Wilder is stepping up. All right.
Wow. That's all I got to say.
That fight's going to happen, man, now. There's all this talk, it's getting... Some people might be getting nervous or excited.
Hey, Bucho, the founding fathers might have been right, man. Maybe that's why they decided to do this build-up purge that, hey, anything goes. Real quick, shout out to Get These Hands for his contribution with the Super Chat. Says, some WWE type shit is going to happen. I feel it 100%. Yeah, I'm getting that feeling too now, man. I don't know. Shout out to... Oh, I thought somebody else. All right, real quick, let's go to the phone lines here. We got a lot of people wanting to talk about this. 626, you're on the air. What did you think about the press conference, my friend?
All right, you guys can hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Loud and clear.
All right, yeah, this is Chris K, Undercover Asian.
Oh, Chris K, shout out to you, man.
Yeah, first I just wanted to say I'm in the LA, Los Angeles area, and just had the mask requirements lifted today.
Oh,
so it's
congratulations.
so nice to work out, without a mask, go shopping without a mask.
Hey, be careful out there in LA. I heard it's getting crazy.
Well, you mean
when is it
not wearing masks, or?
Yeah, exactly. I'm kidding, man. I'm happy they took their mask off, man.
Anyway, we shouldn't even have... You go ahead, Chris K. Yeah, what did you think of the press conference between Wilder and Fury, man?
So I just got bits and pieces, and also from what you all were saying, because I was just listening as I was driving. But, I think whatever Wilder does in terms of changing his attitude, maybe talking less, just being stoic, being quote-unquote focused, whatever. He just doesn't have the foundation to beat Fury. So, and especially he hasn't had any tune-ups. He hasn't had any opportunities to test out any new skills, a new game, against lesser opponents, which is usually what happens if somebody's trying to, change their path. So, it may seem like he's going to do better, but, he just doesn't have the tools, right? I can't see him. Maybe he could survive by avoiding exchanges, but I don't see any way really for him to win, unless, Fury drops the ball and gets hit by a right hand.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. In the video we did, I was looking at it and I said, what if Wilder just goes forward and runs into Fury and it turns into a clinch fest? Maybe he could go the distance that way. But his advantages are speed in terms of hand speed and even foot speed to a certain degree. If he could do that and stay away, whatever, but I don't even think he's got that going for him. So we'll see what happens with that, Chris. By the way, what's your prediction? If you had to make an early prediction right now.
For the fight?
Yes.
That's a good question. I would say Fury's Wilder's going to be more cautious, but I don't think he can actually do anything better. So maybe maybe a late stoppage or just a clear. Okay, I'm going to go with clear unanimous decision for Fury. Wilder is a chicken.
Well, there you have it. All right, Chris, thank you for your contribution, man. Thank you for the
gun shy, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think too, maybe. Listen, thank you for your early prediction. Thank you for your output, and we'll catch you in the next one, all right, man?
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. All right, let's go to another phone call here. 984. Hold on. 984.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. What'd you think of the press conference?
I thought it was pretty funny, actually. That 30-minute stare down, and then Wilder, of course, putting his headphones on is just, I don't know. I don't know. The whole time he couldn't hear anything. But I don't know. I think you could still hear what Fury was saying. So that was kind of, pretty interesting what went down.
What do you think he was listening to?
Overall, I think it's going to be the same result. I think Fury's going to come out victorious. The other guy said, Wilder's going to be more cautious, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the same result.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are going for. Huh? They think there's no way Wilder can win. Would you? So does that mean that you would be shocked if Wilder pulled this out somehow?
I'm sorry?
Would you be shocked if Wilder pulled this off somehow?
I mean, there is that chance. He has a puncher's chance. You know what I'm saying? And then plus, he's more ready. He has this coach with him. The first two times, I mean, I think he's prepped for it. So, but I still think it's going to be the same result. Fury's more comfortable as usual. Usually he goes into his little comedic things or whatever. He was very, very comfortable during this press conference. So I mean, that's I guess where it all starts. I mean, I think he's going to be pretty much just victorious, and I think that it's going to be the same result. Whether it's going to be he gets boxed, it'll go straight to it goes a distance, 12 rounds, or he'll get knocked out. But more than likely, it'll probably end up in a stoppage for Fury, I think.
There you go. Another prediction on the books. We're getting some early predictions here. Most people not giving Wilder a chance. So now it's getting interesting because if he can make something happen, we will be very interested indeed. Caller, thank you for your call. Call back next time. Excellent points. And we'll catch you in the next one, all right? Take it easy.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, man. All right, let me read a couple of super chats here. We got a lot going on, fellas, as you can see. Shout out to Kenshiro for his contribution with the super chat. Says, guys, did you hear that Fury says he wants to come in at 300 pounds? Yes, indeed. We're going to talk about that, Kenshiro. Thank you for your contribution.
Is that true?
Yes. Hold on, real quick. One Foot Out the Door says, shout out to One Foot Out the Door says, here for the comments and the entertainment. Well, that's what we try to offer here, One Foot Out the Door. Thank you, man. Thank you for your contribution. Yes, indeed. Fury said, last time I came in heavy, I only had whatever months of amount of time to prepare. Now I got 18 months, and he says, I'm going to show up. Maybe I'll show up at 300 pounds. Is he bluffing, fellas? And if he's not bluffing, is that smart?
Yeah, it's a bluff.
Yeah.
He's going to come in the same way that he came in the last fight, more or less.
Yep. Hey, recognize. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Got a question.
Yeah.
This quietness that Wilder's got going on, that everyone's got their own theories on. Since you've been in the ring many times, so how much of it you've lost before and then had to rematch someone, I'm sure. But
I never
you may
lost
not
a fight. I'm undefeated. But go ahead. No,
okay.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay, so in the realms of sparring matches that you lost to 12-year-olds,
I did. Actually, I did.
Could this be the reason why he's quiet and internalizing everything? This is the first time he's seen Fury since he got his ass whooped?
That's what I'm trying to say. Listen, who knows what that quietness is really all about?
I mean, he said, right, but he said all this stuff. He's had all this platform, and I'll let you go in just a second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I've been trying to ask this for about 10 minutes now. So he has all this platform to do everything, then he gets right in the face, and now he finally stares the guy that gave him an absolute one-sided mugging, life-threatening beating if they would have let it continue. And he sees the guy for the first time since then. And instead of mouthing up and showing what he's made of, could it be that he moused up instead?
You know that saying? It's one thing to call out the devil, is another thing to face him. That could be that too. That could be very much that too. When you calling out somebody who beat you, he beat you. Me and you could say whatever you want, But at the end of the day, me and you got into a fight. We know what happened. We know that you lost. And you lost a bad one. There is something to that. But I'm not going to discount that his silence could be him humbling himself. In other words, I'm not going to apologize in the traditional way. I'm just not going to say anything because I made a fool out of myself. I'm going to prove it in the ring. That's why I don't sell him. I don't say for sure. It could be a combination of, that is the guy that whipped my ass. This is also the guy I was talking shit about with, and I know I was bullshitting, right? You could lie to anybody else, but you know that you lied. And so it could be one of those type of things where all that stuff is playing in his head, but it's not going to manifest itself until they get in the ring. That's going to be the real test for him, because once that bell rings, he's going to get flashbacks, right? As he's walking into the ring, and as Fury is coming in after him, and Fury is playing to the crowd and has that relaxed face like he always does, and he's ready to fight. All that shit's going to start playing into his head. Is how he controls that. And so maybe he's trying to prepare himself right now, litmus test, do a test right now. I'm in front of the guy who beat me. Maybe he came in there saying, I'm gonna have a few words with him, and then changed his mind and said, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just not going to say anything. So you can read into it two ways. It's going to manifest itself in the ring. You'll see. If he falls apart, then it got the best of him. And he does a better effort of himself, then that he tried. You know what I'm saying? He actually, at least he tried.
Yeah, man. I mean, everyone's got a chance in there. And that's what I want to get to right now. But before we do that, shout out to Truth Sons for his contribution with the super chat. He says, Wilder is listening to Grace Jones lines from Conan. Hey, Jimmy, you know the quotes. What was the quote in Conan? What's best in life to... What is it?
Destroy your enemies, see them fall before you, and defile their women.
Yeah, isn't that that used to be, that was going to be the BDA tagline at some point, but the BDA board of directors decided to change it. Shout out to, hold on, who was it? Iceman, his contribution with the super chat says 300 pounds. What, in the apple pie eating contest? What? Yeah, that's true. What did 300 pounds? He already looked fat.
Asinine for him to come in that heavy. It would be stupid.
Well, listen,
I playing head games.
I jokingly said that AJ should come in at 300 pounds for Usyk, but I mean, what do you want from me? Let's go to the phone lines real quick, and then I want to get to Gonzalo.
Usyk's about to fuck all this up.
Yeah, I think so, man. 205, you're on the air. 205. 205, you're on the air. What's on your mind?
What's up, y'all? What's going on?
We barely hear you, man.
Calm down.
Well, man, this Uncle Charles, man, I'm back again, man. Let me say this to y'all, because last time I talked to y'all, man, we had a great time. Let me tell you something, man. This is not about race. Now, let's look at it real carefully here. Let's look at it real good. Tyson Fury had white trainers in the corner, but he changed up because he thought Sugar Hill could take him to another level. Sugar Hill, I keep telling you, he's Emmanuel Stewart's nephew. He learned everything from Emmanuel Stewart. He learned everything. Emmanuel Stewart, all he did is train champion, heavyweight champion. Let me explain something to you, man. Those idiots in the back at the press conference keep talking about two times. It is going to be 2 times. He's going to get his ass whooped 2 times.
No.
I seen Mike Tyson stare down on Holyfield. And what happened with that? He had Holyfield eels for lunch. So don't get it. It's about this race stuff. It's about who the better boxer. He's going to go in there with the killer mentality. Answer this for me, y'all. I want y'all, let me tell you something. This one thing I love about BDA. Y'all know y'all boxing. How the hell is I'm going to beat this man when I got the man that's training me I knocked out in less than a round? How the hell is he going to teach me something? How the hell is he going to teach me? The guy that's training me, I whooped his ass. So how you going to help me? You can't help me. He's going to revert back to what he always do with the killer mentality. And it's not going to help him when Tyson Fury start putting that weight on him. And then all of a sudden he getting tired and he can't get off. And he's going to get beat up again. And let me make it very clear. I like Deontay Wilder. I think he's one of the most exciting heavyweights since Tyson. But the thing is, he never learned how to box. He never learned how to box. And as far as this racist stuff, I just was in the store the other day, and I was getting my man stuff, like my shaving cream stuff. It was one bar soap, and the Mexican got it. I said, damn, I ain't gonna be able to bathe my ass. But did I get mad because he bought the last bar soap and he was a Mexican? Hell no. I went to the other Dollar General and bought me some soap. Why? I want to bathe my ass. It had nothing to do with color. I keep telling people that. He's going to revert back to what he always do. And he's going to get killed. I'm telling you. And for him to stand there and not say anything, it's going to be just like the last time. He didn't say anything when he got knocked out. So I just want to get y'all opinion what y'all think. And get this damn racist stuff out of there. George Floyd was killed by 4 racist cops. But when it was time to order the George Floyd case, they had 4 white prosecutors. So let's get over that race stuff, because Tyson Fury ain't said anything about any race or anything about that. He's not like that. And I want to get y'all opinion.
Jimmy, you want to say something about that?
No, good for you. I was just going to ask this caller, does he have a YouTube page? He sounds like
yes, sir. I got a YouTube page, Charles Mabry. Just go on Charles Mabry. M-A-B-R-Y. They call me Uncle Charles.
Uncle Charles.
No, you're on YouTube, right?
Yeah, that's what he says, Uncle Charles.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube, baby.
So he's okay.
Come on there, man. Y'all need to get some people. I'm going to be talking about the fight Friday night.
Hey, but let me say
no,
something
I follow you, brother. I listen to you.
If I may say something about...
You're from Alabama, too, right? You from Alabama? Aren't you from Alabama?
I remember you. That's the genius I talked to last time. You that genius. I like you, brother. I like you.
Well, listen, if I can say something here, look, anything can happen in boxing. That's the thing, though. I'm not writing Wilder off, because I'll tell you this. When Fury told Malik Scott, you can't teach Wilder anything, I disagree with that, because Bernard Hopkins told the same thing to John David Jackson when John David Jackson was training Kovalev, and he said, I beat your ass. What are you going to teach this? How are you going to teach this guy to kick my ass? And what happened? Kovalev ended up kicking his ass. So maybe, it takes one punch from Wilder and a couple of adjustments to get that punch through, and he could pull it off. I hope Tyson Fury, for his sakes, that he's not overlooking this fella, because he could crack him and put him out.
So, in addition to,
I don't think he's overlooking it. Tyson Fury, he needs to be careful, because Deontay got one hill quitter, and he knows that. He knows. But do you honestly believe, sir? And you're a very smart man. I've been listening to you every day.
Well, I don't know about that.
Do you honestly believe that a $250 million fight in Britain go down the drain because of Deontay Wilder? I don't think so. Because this ain't about boxing no more. It's about money. And I keep telling people that you want to lose your car, you want to lose your house, they do sell bus tickets. You can go get your bus tokens right now, and they're half off. You can go ahead and get it.
All right, man. All right, well, listen.
Uncle Charles.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uncle Charles.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
In 1990, $75 million went down the drain because of Buster Douglas. So things happen.
Yes, things happen. And you know what, sir? You 100% right, and I'm not going to argue that fact. But what I'm telling you is this, is that you can't get your ass whooped like that and forget about it. You just can't forget about that. I told you I got an ass woman 35, 40 years ago from my daddy. And I wake up in cold sleep sometimes. I said, damn, I don't even live at home anymore. But I remember that ass whooping. And that's all I got to say, and I love y'all, bro.
All right, thank you, Uncle. What was it again? Uncle Charles? What was the website, the YouTube site?
Yeah, Charles Mabry, you search engine. That's M-A-B-R-Y. Charles Mabry, Uncle Charles will pop up.
All right, man. Thank you for your call, and we're going to move on, but take it easy out there, man. Call back next time.
Thanks for the call, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, we got a lot going on.
I like Uncle Charles' energy, man.
He needs to call back
too,
again.
Man. He makes good videos, yes. I'm having a real bad echo, like it's like stuttering. Is that just me? Or you guys catching that when he was talking to
No. He was
that was him.
Shit.
He was on speakerphone. I think that's what created
the
the
was
resonance.
his speaker.
All right, real quick, where the phone calls are piling up here. People are very interested in this subject. Let's go to 832. You're on the air. 832. What's on your mind? Hold on a second. I didn't even answer. All right, hold on a second.
Now,
832. You're on the air. What do you think of the press
how do I
conference?
sound, BDA?
You sound fantastic, man.
Oh,
Better
fantastic.
than me. I'm a little jealous. Go ahead.
BDA, I just want to say, man, I got to give my boy Malik Scott the Mark Unrivaled Award for loyalty. Man, this guy took a dive for Wilder. He's doing Wilder's press conference. Don't be surprised if he fights Wilder's fight. Don't be surprised if Malik Scott's a late replacement and fighting Wilder, fighting Fury. That shit's crazy.
He gets to the ring. To the ring. He says, "Wilder, I got this. Don't worry. Don't say nothing. I got it."
You think Wilder's? You think Malik Scott is letting Wilder hit his girl as well? Do the OnlyFans thing on camera and all that? A little anal.
Malik Scott was no doubt the guy that was filming the twerking video, and he set up his OnlyFans. So that's crazy. That's crazy. Malik Scott, what a guy. What a guy, man. This is like Mark Unrivaled and Johnny Boy levels of loyalty, but there's always a breaking point with these relationships. And don't be surprised if Wilder turns on Malik if he loses. Don't be surprised.
Yeah, that's true because Wilder seems.
Well, that I see. Yeah, I can see Wilder definitely turning on Malik Scott, saying, Malik spiked my water.
I don't think any of us would be surprised on that.
You know what I think? You know what I think? I think Wilder didn't even tell Malik Scott what was going to happen in the press conference. I think Malik Scott was as surprised as the rest of us when Wilder just stood there with his earphones on, listening to ABBA or whatever the fuck he was listening to.
Tay Jones said that water's never leaving my fucking sight. He's on water that night, so he's gonna hold the glass and just walk.
Yeah, he's just gonna hold his bucket. He's gonna hold his water bucket.
Go ahead, caller.
I feel like you guys in the panel aren't really understanding Wilder's approach, and I really got to enlighten you guys. What Wilder is doing is that he's doing that quiet school shooter approach. When there's a school shooter, he's always like the quiet kid that's like in the background, like with his hoodie on. That's Wilder's approach, man. He said he's doing a legalized murder camp, and that's what he's doing. Watch it. Don't be surprised. That's the approach, the quiet approach, the creepy approach. Dude,
so you're saying he's going to try to pull off a Columbine here?
Yeah, that might work when, if they've never fought and you want to get in a dude's head, but you got to remember he's trying to pull that psychological shit on a dude who beat him like a rented mule.
Who's also better at that game than he is.
Well, listen, to me, it seems like Wilder, people in the chat are saying that Wilder got broken, or he seemed broken. He seemed very docile, some sort of like he learned his lesson.
Well, we got to use that term.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what people in the chat.
The documentary.
Yeah, shout out to him.
Shout out to Tariq Nasheed, that's right. Shout out.
Greatest gift I ever had this year, let me tell you.
He's the gift that keeps giving. That's what they say.
Like the massa to the bug breakers. Listen, caller, anything else before we move on?
Honestly, I was surprised on how preserved and tame Fury. Like, Fury could have called him a bitch, could have called him a pussy. He could have done a lot of things. Honestly, dude, I think Fury had restraint, and he almost felt bad for a while. I bet he was like, damn, like, I meant to beat you up, but I didn't mean to beat the living fuck out of you. And it's crazy. Like, he could have done a lot of things, but I felt like there was a lot of restraint in there. And also, Malik Scott is a weird dude. Like, Malik Scott's like, Fury, shut up. You already kicked my ass. You already busted my eardrum. I'm like, Malik Scott, why are you bringing that up, bro?
Damn, Malik Scott, why are you saying that?
What was your plan behind that?
Yeah, it's like, hey, Fury, you already pushed my shit, and bro, it's like, all right,
hey,
come on.
Fury, you already raped me, okay? Like, please, let's just. What's next? Like, I'm serious. Like, what else he's gonna say next?
Yeah, you already stretched.
You already took my manhood.
Yeah, you already stretched my booty, man. Come on, man. What else are you gonna do to me? Shut up. All right, listen, caller. Thank you for your call. We'll catch you in the next one, right, man? We got a lot of calls here. We're gonna move on. Call back next time.
All right, boys. Have a good one. Bye.
Take it easy, fella.
I think that caller made some good points, man. Some good points. Wilder is that quiet school shooter.
He's a Columbine. What was the name of those Columbines, fellas?
The Columbine.
They had some real white boy names. They had some white boy names.
The one that happened by me, by Parkland.
Jimmy probably knew them.
Didn't they call them the trench coat crew or something?
Trench coat mafia.
Trench coat mafia.
Yeah.
Trench coat mafia.
Yeah, because they all wore those long trench coats in the summer.
Yeah, that's disgusting. You smell like sweat afterwards. Ugh. Anyway, let's go to another phone call here. 619, you're on the air. 619, what's on your mind? 619, you're on the air. Going once. Going twice.
All right. 619.
Take it easy, man. Try to call back next time. All right, so listen.
I was pulling for you, 619.
He folded like Wilder. He folded like Wilder.
Hey, listen, I want to get
With
Gonzalo.
the launch, yeah.
Let me get Gonzalo in here because he had to wait here through the phone calls. Gonzalo, thank you. Gonzalo, thank you for being on, man. I wanted to ask you, what do you think Wilder's chances are here for this rematch? I mean, do you see a path to victory for him? Or for him, rather. No, I can't hear you, Gonzalo. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Oh, so it's not just me. Good.
Yeah, you're not that high, Jimmy.
I see a path for victory. I do see a path for victory for Wilder, but it's going to take
prick.
No, it's going to take something. It's going to take for him to pick up on what kept happening in the first fight towards when Fury was winning, and what kept happening in the second fight. Obviously, he kept biting for feints, so he was intimidated, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you bite for feints, you're intimidated. Right? You bite for every fucking feint. You're like
everyone, dude. Oh my god, everyone he bought.
Yes. So that's one. That's one. Stand your ground, because when he stands his ground, even though he got outboxed in the first round, the first fight, excuse me, but he was able to land. Look, and I don't care what anybody says. Fury beat that count in the last round, but he landed the punch he needed to land after getting outboxed for most of the fight. And that's because he was standing there and he wasn't letting Fury dictate every second.
No, dude, he got knocked out. That's what they actually say. They describe it, his fans. They knocked him out. What are you talking about? He got up.
You hear me?
I know, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But he did. Oh, Gonzalo's back. Hold on. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Hey, he's got a decent chance. The thing with him, look, as you saw on the stare down, which I thought wasn't usually long, Tyson Fury is that much bigger than Deontay Wilder. So Wilder, by coming in at a lower weight like he usually does, will be faster, but he also would get pushed around a little bit easier. So there's no real like definite strategic game plan as far as weight's concerned on how to go about it. If you come in a little less in weight, you're gonna get pushed around a little bit easier, and you got that much greater a chance of getting knocked out with one shot if Tyson Fury's coming in at 270. But if it were me, I would prefer coming in at the lesser weight than as compared to how he came in a little bigger in that rematch. It just benefits Wilder more because he's got that snappy long power. So if we know what Tyson Fury's game plan is going to be, to collapse the pocket, to come forward and bulldoze to whatever Wilder does, while keeping a little bit of attention, obviously, on the right hand, but not giving him the space to punch. If I were Wilder, I would just say, fuck it. If I'm going to get pushed around a little bit easier, my best shot is to get him out of there early, because it's not going to go the distance. He's not going to bully me, because my best chance of doing something is that with that quick, snappy right hand. So I would come in lighter if I were Wilder. Fuck it.
Excellent point.
There's no real which way to see that as far as like the clear advantage, but I think lighter would benefit him more, in my opinion.
I agree, man. He has to go for it. Like he can't wait. I don't think, because what I said in the video was Wilder has to go chest to chest when he misses. In other words, he has to come forward. Yes, he's gonna fall into Fury. They're gonna clinch, whatever. But if he backs up, then he's got no chance because he can't fight going backward. But at the same time, if he does go chest to chest with Fury, I suspect, like most of you guys, eventually he's gonna falter. So, like Gonzalo said, there's no ifs and buts about it. He has to give it his best early on, and the longer it goes, the less likely he can actually pull out a decision.
Rocky 3, we got to take him out early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is possible.
It would
Go ahead.
Who was gonna go?
Okay. I don't like Wilder.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up and call back because I can't hear.
All right. BDA, I was going to say I don't like Wilder coming in too light. Not against Tyson Fury, who's going to come in at 270 plus.
I'm with you.
That's too much. If you're talking about under 220, I don't like that. If you're talking about, to be honest with you, no lighter than 225, I'm okay with that. I don't think Wilder lost because he was too heavy. I just think that he lost because Fury blitzed him. Just blitzed him. He couldn't adjust to that. He could not adjust to that. Maybe he was hurt, and him being hurt didn't allow him to think, and that's why he was biting for every feint. After that, and he looked foolish. Maybe it's a combination of all that, but I think that the reason why I don't want him under 220, start playing with that 215 and 210, nah. Not against a guy who's 270 and is coming to knock you out, because he'll probably knock him out. He'll probably knock him out even earlier if that was.
And his legs are too skinny, right? I mean, they're so fucking skinny, man. If he went even lighter, I mean, Christ, his legs are his thighs are literally the size of his fucking biceps. I would venture to say 2 inches bigger, which is obscene. You know what I mean? That's like really small legs. So the smaller his legs are, the more that big weight.
Wilder is built like a basketball player. Wilder's a basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
Built of a basketball
tall, no calves, wide shoulders. You know what I mean? He's like a ectomorph, mesomorph style combined. But it's going to be the uppercut. If Wilder catches him, they're going to. Trust me, I bet you anything they're working on the uppercut. They're going to try to catch him with a right uppercut coming in. That's good, because I just don't see, because of his height, Fury's height, and his feints, it's going to be very hard to catch him on the end of a right. It's going to be trying to come in. That's going to be their bet. And if he starts shooting it early, and I'm talking in the first time you see Wilder coming in, Fury coming in, if you see Wilder bend to his right and come up with an uppercut, that's the punch he's going to be going with all night. Whatever big punch he leads with, that'll be the punch they were working on. And I think it'll be the uppercut.
I'm sure we got more phone calls, but if I can put this in, Fury's smart enough that if it doesn't land, it doesn't work, you just blown your game plan. And Fury's going to be able to outthink around that.
Now, here's my question when it comes to that. Yeah, you're right. Tyson Fury could make adjustments better, mid-fight, better than Wilder. But in terms of the uppercut, I saw that a little bit. Because if you look at Fury, when he comes in with the jab, he dips to his right. Okay, so he's lowering himself, jabbing, and as he does so, he lowers himself over to the right. He could still get clipped with a right uppercut from that angle, right? Depending on...
Dude, that's when I watch that fight, that's how you put it. I couldn't put it any better. Every time I watch a fight, a lot of times I'll put myself, if I was fighting, what I would do in that situation. If I was Wilder, it would be the right uppercut for that same reason, dipping down. He was dipping right into it. But like to Jay's point, he doesn't make adjustments. Fury does. Wilder doesn't. He'll telegraph it. He'll let him know. Again, you should hide your punch you've worked on or your money punch that you're hoping is going to win the fight. You should never throw it early. You should use that first couple of rounds to fill it out. But I think nerves, the stage, knowing what everything is riding on this, if he loses, I think he's going to throw it right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too, man. I think he's like you said, he's gonna get scared. He's gonna show all his cards from the beginning, and then we'll see what happens if Fury can. Because look, Fury can easily get dropped with that uppercut, man. I can see him dropping on his ass, and then with the momentum, his back slams against the canvas, and he can get up or something weird like that. I'm telling you, he has to mind his. You guys already know this. What I'm saying, for those people out there that think all Fury has to do is show up and win. That's the mistake Wilder did in the second and first fights. He cannot just show up.
He needs to come in crab style.
Oh, well, now see that. Yeah, now that would be interesting.
If he comes in, no, seriously, if he comes in, he needs to put his left forearm down like he did a few times. Fury's good at it too. It's almost like that half, like leaving your left hand down, you're looking over your shoulder. You know what I mean, keeping your left by your waist, but just bring it up even a little bit more. Cross your face with your right. And kind of come in with that crab style. He's actually good throwing punches from that stance. That negates the uppercut as long as you don't do the dip too far. And I feel he's talented enough. I know he can knows. And I'm sure Sugar Hill knows. After looking at the tape, this is the punch they could have got you with, champ.
So we got to make sure you try not to do that so much.
Hey, did
Again, if I
Fury,
was Trey, that's what I would do.
did Fury use that crab-like defense 2 times? Is that how you saw it? 2 times. Did you see
Two
it?
times. 2
The
times.
the fuck was that, man?
I'm water guy. I'm the water guy.
I'm the spit bucket guy. I'm the spit bucket guy. Yeah.
Oh, man, he's reminds me like that. Remember the fucking history of the world? Get the piss wench, the piss boy, and he comes over and they're playing out in the field, and the royalty has to pee, holds the bucket as they piss. That's what reminded me. He surrounds himself with a bunch of fucking piss boys.
Yeah, does this guy really think? Does this guy really think he could beat Tyson Fury 1-on-1?
Nah, he don't think that.
He said it a bunch of times. Man, he says if I see him, I might get involved. I might have to do something.
Yeah, Tyson Fury would take.
Who's the guy?
Tyson Fury.
Hey, Jones?
Big mitts. Yes. Tyson Fury would take his big mitts and wrap it around his neck and just start squeezing. He'll be punching. It won't be. It'll just be bouncing off Wilder, and Wilder will be talking to him like, "Go to." He'll be telling him, "Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Who's
Go
that?
to sleep. Go to sleep."
That dude's emotionally not there, man.
Who is this?
K. Jones.
Dude is like 5'6", bro. He ain't fucking with no 6'9" man. That's not happening.
Now if it's the same dude who's behind Wilder, I'd put him around 5'11". If it was the same dude who was saying two time, because that dude wasn't. Yeah, he was a little. I don't know if it was Tay Jones then.
Tay Jones about 5'9".
Is it true he's a cop, dude? I thought I heard that. I just find it.
Tay Jones is a boxer, a very low level. He's a low level boxer.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Wait,
I'm sorry.
Are you saying Nate Jones? Are you saying Nate Jones? NATE? Nate Jones?
No.
Tay T-A-E.
T-A-Y.
I got you. Never mind.
Or T-A-Y. Either one. Either T-A-E or T-A-Y.
Who gives
Tay
a fuck?
Jones. Who gives a fuck about that dude? Yeah.
2 time.
Yeah, he just got kicked off Twitter too. They suspended him off Twitter because I think he did it on purpose, man. And the shit he said he must have knew because he was getting so crucified. He'd try to jump in on threads and say shit, and people would just dogpile him and just come at him with facts, and he couldn't sustain nothing because remember, he's the one who said he actually saw the medical report. That was his game. I seen it. I saw
the medical report.
Where is it? Why wasn't that medical report being flapped in Wilder's face? I mean, Fury's face. The medical report says my skull was cracked from a fucking foreign object. It just...
Yeah, you know what?
His Phoenix flamed the fuck out. I just saw a tweet by him.
The exact quote was, I saw the report 2 times.
Nigga.
All right, listen. I don't know who's playing those songs. People are saying... Okay, I don't know. Listen, there's some people saying some casting aspersions in the chat. I don't know if that's true or not about who's a cop, blah blah blah. So I'm not gonna get into that. But I mean, that's those are the rumors we've heard. But the legal department is telling us we can talk about that. Let's go to the phone lines real quick. We're getting some static here. Who's gonna? Why can't I? Hold on a second. Give me 2 seconds here, fellas. Okay, 832. You're on the air. 832. What's on your mind?
What's good with you, Mr. BDA? You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man.
Y'all can hear me? All right. I got a prediction. I think Tyson Fury is gonna KO Wilder, but not as quick as people think. I've seen a lot of people saying that within 4 rounds, stuff like that. I think Wilder is gonna be more prepared, so I think it's gonna take a little longer. I think probably like in the 11th round. That's what I'm thinking, right? It's gonna be like dramatic. I do think it's gonna be some shenanigans like WWE stuff. But look, to be honest with you, I'll vote for Wilder. I want Wilder to win, but realistically, based off of what there's nothing that tells me that he's gonna be able to knock out Fury. Not really. I mean, I see him on the mitts with his new trainer, and I see him working on the body shots and stuff. I think if he KOs Fury, if he does do it, it's gonna be like Leonard Hearn. I mean, Hearn's Duran. You know, what I mean, with the straight right to the body and fake it to the top. I think if he did beat Tyson Fury, it would look something like that. I don't know how y'all see it.
Tyson Fury's got a big old melon head. I don't see him getting knocked out the way Duran did, out cold that way, like falling forward and just completely out. But it's like Wilder certainly hits hard enough. Chief, what do you think?
You're talking about a 6'1" knocking out a 5'6", and you're trying to compare that to a 6'6" knocking out a 6'9". It changes the dynamic. I understand, respect your opinion, what you're saying, that it could be a right hand from the outside that Wilder doesn't see, that Fury doesn't see. I'm not shooting that down, but the same kind of effect of this wind up punch from right field that no one can see coming from the angle he's at. I don't see that same situation.
Well, Kohler, I can.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I still think Fury wins either way. So like, I'm just saying, like, if it was to happen, it would look like, because Wilder got the long hands like Tommy Hearns and stuff, but I don't, that sniper right hand, but I don't think it's gonna be able to do nothing to Fury at the end of the day, unfortunately. I mean, like, if Wilder hasn't done anything to show me that he could he looks good on the mitts, but like I need to see him like spar someone or some shit, like not like to be convinced, But yeah, man, especially with all this dance and stuff, man. Yeah.
Okay, well, the dancing was a year ago or something. People need to let that go, man. But and by the way, it's the 21st century. If a guy wants to twerk half naked in the street, I think that's his right. But listen, caller, thank you for your call. We'll catch you in the next one, all right, man?
Yeah.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I'd actually wouldn't mind seeing Wilder win this one. That way, if Joshua gets past Usyk, we keep this gravy train rolling.
Stop it.
Why not?
Stop it.
Jimmy, why not? Keep the party going, man.
I just want him and his fans the fuck out of here, dude.
Oh, come on.
It's just gotten, when it becomes obscene, some of the shit said. But no, listen, let him, in the fact that we didn't want to, the old media wasn't saying, oh, great, he's not going to, fucking they weren't taking up for what, the Fury not to take his second contract or fulfill his contract. Like he said, they just said, they were going by what Bob said. And of course, the new media, old media, was pumped about that potential unification fight. Yeah, I don't think people realize how rare that is, especially in the heavyweight division. I know you guys do, but obviously they don't.
Yeah, that's it. Real quick, just don't forget, fellas, hit the like button. Do us a big favor, right, fellas? We really appreciate it. Hit the like. All right, sorry. Who did I interrupt? Who was gonna go?
When I heard what's his name, Dead Game, talk about the new media. You know how I see the new media? They're not boxing fans. So the new media is fandomhood. It's a couple of fighters. So I'd be down with the new media, like if they were down for everybody, for every boxing match. But they only the new media that Dead Game is talking about are just Wilder fanboys. And
they're not paying attention to 115 and 118, two of the hottest divisions in boxing. You mention anybody from those divisions, they have no clue who you're talking about.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I say I would be down for the new, because I don't like the old media. The old media is like mainstream, right? That's the old media. But these guys are even worse than the mainstream media. They're worse. They have less integrity because it's all about
ideologues.
Right, they ideologues. So I don't like that. I don't like that kind of new media. Fair. I'll be fair, and I'll say yes. The old media, they have agendas, but when the old media is when they're calling it more down the line than you are, you're in a bad state. If you want to start like a new movement, of how you cover fights, because you're only covering a few guys. That's it, and you're coming at it in an angle where it's just fandomhood. That's all it is.
The new media seems to be very pro Wilder. The new media that people talk about, we know who they are, and recognize this. I mean, they're biased. They're completely biased. So, and like Jimmy also said, so basically Wilder just wants to talk with people who agree with him and support him. So he wants to enter this echo chamber.
Right.
He can't deal with criticism. That's why he
had Paulie Malignaggi fired, brother.
Exactly.
Remember Bucho? He had Paulie Malignaggi because he just was honest. He says, listen, at the end of the day, I can't sit here and try to explain this decision when I don't agree with it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to lie. Just because he said that, and because Steve Farhood, who scores fight, think about
emotional instability that takes for you to personally get in, call up Steven Espinoza and fucking lean on him. I'm the heavyweight champ of the world. I'm your biggest name on this network. I want them fired. And inevitably, it cost Molinazzi his job. Yes,
Mark
brother.
Brilliant, another guy that probably was disagreeing with Wilder's training methods. And Wilder had to fire that guy.
You were right.
And we've disagreed with certain things that Paulie Malignaggi has said, certain stances he has taken. But we would never want him. We're part of that new media. We on the internet, we on YouTube, and we do all that shit, right? But we wouldn't want him fired for that. These dudes wanted him fired. I'm not talking about Wilder. Wilder's his own person. I'm talking about the new media. They thought it was justified.
They pushed that angle that it was racist, what he said, and it wasn't.
When he talked shit about Pacquiao and whoever else that maybe I disagree with, I was just like, he's just talking shit. But I didn't want him fired.
He's a Mayweather fucking water boy, big time. He carries water for Mayweather big time. And I didn't like him as a fighter. I didn't like most of the shit he said about that Mayweather thing. But I didn't mind him as an analyst. The dude knows the game. He knows what he was saying. I thought he was developing nicely. I thought he was coming along in that role nicely. And he was blasted because the Wilder couldn't handle the fact that the kid was going to be honest. And so they cost the LDBC, and they did. They're the ones who pushed on Showtime. Make no doubt about it. They're the ones who pushed. And, Steven Espinoza is a big time fucking cancel culture dude. You got to see his Twitter account. It's actually shocking. And big time, dude.
So the new media,
shit.
The new media is just the branch of the old media, basically, right?
Correct.
They're about culture. They're about crybaby culture. They're about that stuff. So why do I look? I like that game, but why the fuck do I care about your new media? Your new media is worse than the old media.
That's right.
That's all.
Plus, they're not credentialed. Remember, that was the whole thing. They couldn't get credentialed.
I would like to hear some specific examples of which channels are considered new media.
It's anybody from the LDBC. Anybody from the LDBC. Can you imagine? Remember how the whole thing with Kelly Swanson? She wouldn't credential half these guys. She's like, no, you make videos out of your car. You're not fucking media, dude. You don't have a website. You don't have an LLC. You know what I mean? You're not real media.
Remember, that comes from Al Heyman. So if you got a problem with Kelly Swanson, then you take it up with Al Heyman, because obviously Al Heyman knows what's going on. He values her more than he values you fucking race hustling.
And by the way,
like, that's how. So all the shit you're doing, the black man still doesn't. He still values her more than.
And remember how he hopped on that dude? He goes, "I'm not gonna take this from a white woman. How dare Al Heyman?" He remember that was the only time he almost turned on Al, because he was letting a white woman talk to black men like this. And he went insane over it, actually.
Hey, by the way, can you imagine? They're talking about new media. They're taking over. Can you imagine? You turn on, they become mainstream or something. They take over CNBC. You see this guy when he interviews somebody he doesn't like. He starts threatening them. We're going to see you on Fight Night. Remember that when he said that to show you, we're going to see you.
Yeah.
With a wife beater.
Yeah, with a wife beater.
Hey, Malik, what's the temperature? What are we looking at for this weekend's weather? Hot, motherfucker.
No, but remember when they were interviewing Sugar Hill?
Yeah.
And they had this other guy that looks like a bit retarded. The one that was saying that they had physical proof that Tyson Fury cheated. Remember that guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the guy whose eye floats all over the place. He's got one eye just keeps creeping all over the room.
Yeah, that guy. At some point, he jumped on the stream when they were interviewing Sugar Hill, and he goes like, "Yeah, you know what happened, and it's gonna go down. It's gonna go down tonight." Remember that? I was like, "What was he talking about?"
I don't know, but I love the way Sugar Hill handled that. He's like, "Oh, okay." You just kept looking at it like, "Okay."
Or new media. Hey, by the way,
like,
new media.
I don't
real
talk
quick,
your
real
language.
quick. New media saying they hope somebody dies in a car crash and they burn to death. Remember that too as well?
Yeah, that was the new media quote too. Yeah, I hope he dies in a fucking car accident. Can you imagine wishing at someone?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about if that's the new media. why would anybody besides you guys want to join? Why would they want to join?
And just
you
to
guys are
clarify,
talking about
and they depend on corporate sponsorship. Who's going to fucking all these new media sites? Even Ben Shapiro, no matter what it was, started on YouTube. They have backing. They have financial backing. People, hedge funds back then. Everybody was invested in shit like that. You think everybody's going to throw $20 million at some site where they're wishing people get killed in car accidents?
Yeah, man, come on, man.
And by the way, this new media, all of them went along with the floppy glove theory, the egg weight theory, all of these conspiracy theories. So
I think they made it up myself. I think if you, my heart of hearts, I think they made it all up. And then Fury, you could actually see the trend. It started the night out. Fucking barbershop started saying, there was something. I don't know. When he came out, it was just he looked like something was wrong. In fact, my aunt said, "Fucking blah blah blah. Something looks wrong with the champ." That was one of the first things Wilder said 6 months later. I had people calling me saying, "Family said." I'm like, oh my God. So he just rolled up all their conspiracy theories, picked the ones he liked, and ran with them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Picky. Let's go to a phone call here. 323, you're on the air. 323, what's on your mind?
Fellas, what's up?
Oh, wait a minute. Is this the Kimster?
Who else?
Steve.
What's going on?
What's going on, guy?
Drop by and say
What's
hello.
up, buddy?
You called in at the right time, man.
I'm enjoying the show here. I didn't go to the press conference today because I had better things to do. I had some meetings, and I don't really need to go to those things for now. I'll be back, but there's interesting things here, and I'm certainly enjoying the conversation here of BDA. I thought I'd drop in again. It's been a while.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me you're still part of the old media? You don't want to join the new media?
Look, the bottom line is there's real media, and there's those other guys. It's really that simple. I mean,
exactly.
It's like, either you're real media or you're not. I mean, all these guys, new media. It's the dumbest thing when you hear that stuff. But I've always said consider the source.
Well, listen. Look. I think the last time we asked you about the heavyweight division was, is the Joshua Fury fight going to happen? And you weren't too optimistic, and lo and behold, we're talking about this now. Wilder Fury 3. It's like, are you looking forward to this, or is this a waste of time?
Kind of, sort of. I'm intrigued by what Malik Scott brings to the table, believe it or not. I've known Malik for about 20 years. I actually was a researcher when I was much younger for the 2000 Olympics. I worked for Teddy Atlas and Marv Albert. So going from the Olympic trials, which was, I think, January or February of 2000, all the way up to the Summer Games in Sydney, Australia, I got to know a lot of those kids. And I think Malik Scott lost to Calvin Brock. But I've always gotten along with Malik. He's a very nice young man, Philadelphian. Now he now lives in Valencia, California, which is a suburb, which is about 20 miles outside of Los Angeles. I grew up there as a kid. So he's kind of like the Fresh Prince of Valencia to me, and I never thought an inner city kid would find such a peaceful home, and he loves it there. And I actually subscribe to Malik Scott's not OnlyFans, just his Instagram, and he has a lot of interesting videos. I think he's a very good teacher. He does a lot of things with his son and a lot of youth out there in Valencia where he runs a gym, a little youth program. I think he's a very bright boxing man. I think that he's got a very high boxing IQ, and I'm intrigued. I think the first 3 rounds are going to be very tough. Guys, I was at Buddy McGirt's boxing gym earlier this morning getting in a workout, and I spoke to Buddy about it, and he said to me that he's intrigued because he thinks the first 3 rounds will be very, very interesting because it is a psychological battle for Deontay Wilder to get over what happened in the rematch. And he said, if I'm Tyson Fury, I try to continue what was going on in the rematch. And so I actually think this is interesting, guys. Controls the center of the ring and can come forward and punch off the front foot with a lot of authority is going to really be the guy that's going to control the fight and win it. Now, here's the issue. If one guy then has to box, the guy with the second dimension is Tyson Fury. He actually has a reverse gear. And I know you guys were talking about Deontay Wilder's weight, whether he's going to come in closer to 240 or 220. Here's the issue. his legs, I've always said about him, when you look at a guy like him in the gym, Jimmy, that's a guy you say, that guy skipped leg days for about 20 years. And so he doesn't have strong pins. So once he has to take that slide step back, everything falls apart. He actually looks fairly decent holding his ground and punching, coming forward with a good jab step and then following through, pivoting through his hips with the right hand. The other issue is, guys, as I wrap it up, just with monologue, Tyson Fury, and I've interviewed him a few times, he says that I am a fighting man from a fighting people. In other words, this is in his blood. From the time he came out of the womb, John Fury was breeding him to be a fighter. He's very natural at it. While Deontay Wilder, if I'm not mistaken, picked up boxing, I believe, at age 18, and I've always thought he did very well for his relative lack of experience. He's done a lot in the sport of boxing. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. But when it comes down to it, in this situation, it matters because Tyson Fury is just a little bit more natural of a fighter, and he's also now about 45 pounds heavier.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's true. Wilder is a natural talent, and he did well for himself. Now, in regards to him fighting backwards, there's a couple of times where he fought well going backwards against Steve Earn, who was considerably shorter, and against Duhaupas. And if you watch that Duhaupas fight, he showed some of the things that perhaps he could do against Fury. But Steve, I guess the question is, what percentage of chances do you give Wilder of pulling off the victory on this one?
Probably 20 to 30%. And, referencing that Stavern fight, and I think you're talking about the first one back in 2015 when he won the WBC title originally, he did box fairly well, controlled the distance, really used his reach, probably better than any other fight. But that version of Bermain Stavern was a terrible version. I remember speaking to members of his camp, and that guy went on an extended victory lap after the Chris Areola fight, and there's probably not a strip club in Las Vegas that he didn't frequent for months at a time. And I remember his trainer, I think it was Don House, good friend of mine, telling me that he was so out of shape on the week of the fight that Stavern was so insecure about the way he looked that even as a heavyweight, he decided to go into the sauna. And if you recall, I think in that fight, he suffered from some sort of dehydration, which rarely happens for a heavyweight. So, look, I think Deontay Wilder has a puncher's chance when you can bang like that with the right hand. But Tyson Fury is really adapting to this style. Look, I don't like the fact he hasn't fought. Neither guy has fought since February 22nd of last year. But when I spoke to Sugar Hill sometime about 7-8 months ago about what was going on and what was the formula for beating him in the rematch so easily, he recalled a story that they're at the top-ranked gym leading into the second fight, and he said one day he's working mitts with Tyson, and he's really making him be aggressive and coming forward, much like Manny Stewart would have. And after the session was over, Sugar Hill tells Tyson, he goes, Tyson, when you come downhill on somebody, punching with aggression, coming forward, you don't even know how intimidating you are, and you're not even hitting me. And he said that right there seemed to really strike a chord with Tyson, and he said, okay, like he got it. So I'm just telling you guys, in the first round, if Tyson is able to march forward and basically walk down Deontay Wilder, it may not necessarily mean it's going to be an early knockout. It may mean that Deontay Wilder, as you guys have alluded to, may just revert back to the exact same stuff he's done in the past if he's not able to fight and punch off his front foot.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's because, again, he's very undisciplined, physically talented, but mentally undisciplined. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, I was going to say to Steve's point, and I've talked to Steve we've talked about this on length. Like he said, very, very crucial. Fury's been doing this in the womb, you know what I mean? Like, it's second nature to him. So if there's anybody who's going to be adversely affected by a longer time out of the ring, will be somebody who it's not second nature to him, I believe, even when he's fighting on a regular, because he took to it. Boxing, unlike any other sport, if you don't take to it young, it's just, you don't very seldom do you see. It's very rare to see a guy, especially in younger weights, to jump into a sport in his late teens and succeed. It's just almost unheard of for that reason. But that's what I got.
Right. Yeah, and Jimmy, you go back to Wilder. Look, he was able to earn an Olympic spot with the U.S. team at heavyweight, which is probably the thinnest division. I mean, just think about the populace that we have. Most of our athletes of that size or height are either playing baseball, football, or basketball. Most of them are not really boxing anymore. He was able to win a bronze medal, and I think his team did a very good thing. And I know a lot of people gave him heat, but they basically said, we're going to use the first 35 to 40 fights, whether we win a title or not, as an extended amateur career. I actually think that was very, very prudent. I was there, guys, early on in his run, 2010 or 11, and you cannot find this footage anywhere. It is like the missing clips of the Zapruder film. Drilled him to the canvas at the Fantasy Springs. And he was basically, I don't want to say saved by the bell, but he was very fortunate that was near the end of whatever that round was. And I said to myself, this kid's not going to go anywhere. So to actually have to won a WBC belt and to stack up 10 defenses, and again, I know he didn't exactly face Murderer's Row, he's actually gotten out of limited experience. I do give Deontay Wilder a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, you got to give it to him, man. He's look. He wasn't talking in the press conference. He was listening to whatever he was listening to on his earphones. But it seems like he's going to show up on Fight Night. You never know. Steve, I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you something too, because you covered the Margarito saga in the mid 2000s when he was chasing after Floyd Mayweather, and a lot of people anointed Margarito as the boogeyman. And then he ended up getting into a very tough fight against Joshua Clottey. And I remember somebody asking, if you're the boogeyman, can you afford to have a bad night? Devin Haney, a couple of weeks ago, looked very shaky in the last 3 rounds against Linares. He's been very talkative about how he's the boogeyman, nobody wants to fight him. Do fighters who claim to be boogeymen, do they have the right to complain or to have a bad night?
No, that's an interesting question. I was at, it's funny, I was at the Claudio Margarito, and then years later, a couple weeks ago, I was actually at the Linares-Haney fight. A couple of things. Margarito, I think, should have been pulled out of that Claudio fight. About 10 days before that fight, he had a badly sprained ankle, and it really affected his movement. And look, he had a feet of clay to begin with, and then you sprained that ankle, and it was like a grapefruit size thing, and I saw it. And because he used to go to the Montebello, what used to be the Bally's Fitness before it turned into LA Fitness. A lot of the boxers in this area would go to that specific gym because it was centralized, close to a lot of the gyms. And I remember him hobbling around the track, and there was some discussions about getting out of the fight. But quite frankly, they needed to build their case. And Claudio's a tough guy. He was very durable. I thought Margarito pulled away late, but it was not an impressive performance. There's no doubt about that. Going to a couple of weeks ago, Haney goes through a lot to make 135, and I mentioned this on the 3 knockdown rule. These weigh-ins are ridiculous. They literally take place at 9 a.m. on Friday, which means these guys get 36 hours to recuperate. And as Ray Mancini says, you might as well weigh in on Monday or Tuesday as far as he's concerned. So, I think the weight affects him. I really do. I'm not so sure he has a bad chin. I do wonder if he leaves a little bit of his legs and his ass inside whatever he has to do, the sauna or the bath, which he really takes about 3 or 4 hot baths to actually secrete a lot of the fluid out of his body. That's what's being used. I thought it was a good performance. I certainly didn't think it was like the level of the Shakur Stevenson fight, which was an absolute snoozer this past weekend. Being there ringside, I enjoyed that skill. I mean, I thought Linares prepared very well, but early on, he was just a beat slower. He couldn't get off quite as fast, couldn't punch with Haney, but eventually started to time him, and it was a tough night. But I thought it's the type of fight that he needed. There was some excitement. There was a decent crowd. It had some drama, and eventually he'll find his way up to 40. So I'll be honest with you. I'm not all that critical of Devin Haney over that performance. Look, we're all old enough to remember Oscar De La Hoya hanging on for dear life for at least 4 rounds against John Molina, weren't we?
10 seconds. Sorry about that. Yeah,
good point.
Yeah,
that is a good point. That first 4 rounds was tough for him.
But I'll tell you why I'm worried about it. It's because he took that right to the chin or whatever it was, and then for 3 rounds, he didn't really see all that out of it, but his body language was just indicating, I just got to clinch my way to the end. I mean, it was 3 rounds of nonstop. Yeah, that was bizarre, man.
Yeah, well, remember, he got buzzed at the end of the 10th, and if you would have said for 9 rounds, 2 minutes and 56 seconds, you would have given Devin Haney an A. I thought it was an excellent boxing performance. But from the end of the 10th and the 11th round is something that I think Jorge Linares will regret the rest of his life because, in my view, he did not throw the kitchen sink at Devin Haney. And even in the 12th round, I think, hey, you got to think about it. You're 36 years old. You're not going to get that many more chances. I'm not so sure he emptied the bucket the way he needed to. And I asked Devin Haney at the post-fight press conference, I said, Devin, if you cannot get a Tank, a Teofimo, or a Ryan Garcia, are you going to move up in weight? And he said, basically, with what I have to do to get to 35, if I can't get those type of fights, I might as well move up. Now, quick update on this. I spoke about it with Teofimo Lopez yesterday, who, while he still thought he was fighting Kambosos, obviously you guys know the news that it's all changed. I was told late last week that Teofimo / Top Rank had offered or had made overtures to Devin Haney's side to say, hey, do you want to fight sometime in October? Major pay-per-view bout. And Teofimo confirmed that contact was made, that there's interest on their side, but I believe, and this is what I was told by other sources, Devin Haney's contract, his current deal that had been under with Eddie Hearn is now over, but there's a period of time where Eddie Hearn can match all offers, and Teofimo kind of went into it. Now with the Kambosos fight being backed up about a month or so, I'm not so sure what happens with that situation, but going back to what you said, I do believe that Teofimo and his team, seeing Linares buzz Haney late, I think they said, okay, you know what? Let's try to get him next. I think that played a factor.
Yeah, that could have. Yeah, I would have thought the same thing. I've been hearing some conspiracy theories around these parts in the YouTube community. People are saying that what a coincidence that the fight gets postponed. People are saying that maybe Triller didn't like what they were hearing about the pay-per-view numbers, the projections. You think there's any truth to that, or is it's bunk at this point?
Look, I wouldn't put anything past anybody. They've already backed up the date once because Floyd Mayweather and one of the Paul brothers put their flag on that weekend, and they hightailed it a couple of weeks later. The issue is, with that conspiracy theory, the bottom line is they still have a purse bid they have to live up to. And if you're Teofimo Lopez, even with this new amended deal with Top Rank, and certainly if you're George Kambosos, who struck the super lottery based on his career, you want that deal to be lived up to, right? I don't see how they want to get out of it because let's say Teofimo has a new minimum contract with Top Rank or ESPN. Okay, that's great for the next fight, but I still have my concerns or my doubts that his minimum is $4 million like it's supposed to be for the Kambosos fight. So even if Triller was getting cold feet and they suddenly realized the harsh reality of the boxing business, you have a couple of camps that are saying, no, you bid on this fight, you're on the hook. We're fighting. And by the way, whether that fight was this week or August 14th, does it really do any different numbers? It's probably going to settle in at about 200,000 buys, don't you think?
That's exactly right. And Steve, if I was a fighter in camp for that, I'd be furious because, as you know, dude, they space their camp out 8 weeks, 12 weeks, depending on the person. Most people, right, I would imagine, do around 8 now, Steve. So this certain periods, they try to time it with it's like, you know what I mean, like to be in a certain peak condition. They wouldn't want to have to keep carrying it because a lot of guys lose it. You know what I mean? They just can't keep it. It's just a dangerous thing too. As a fighter, I would think if they were, they'd be pissed.
You know who agrees with you is Jamel Herring. Last summer, Jamel Herring went through several postponements. He had the COVID situation, and that's the toughest thing. You've probably been through that situation, guys, where, you start seeing the end of the tunnel when you have to make the weight, and you got to taper off, you adjust your calories, it's actually very difficult to restart the camp and just say, well, okay, in 6 weeks, let's do this again. Jamel Herring struggled really, really bad against, I believe, Okendo. And he said, Steve, I said all the right things leading into the fight, but that night, first of all, coming off COVID was not easy. And we've seen a pattern where fighters that have had the COVID, they found out it's not that easy just to get back on the horse. And second of all, going back up and down in weight and then cutting again, and you see how much better he looked for an uninterrupted camp against Carl Frampton. So that could be a factor. And the other thing is, guys, about Teofimo, he is bursting at the seams. He does not have a lot of fights left at 135, so he has to be really affected by this in a sense that he said he was on track to make weight, but he also did admit to me and Mario, I don't have a lot left in these. 135 is a very short run for him at this point.
Well, that's the thing, because, by the way, go ahead, Gonzalo. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I saw some training videos a couple weeks ago, and Teofimo Lopez was looking really, really good, really shredded. He was punching with quickness when he was working out, and looked really, really strong. And I don't know if he can deal with it. He's still young, but he's still busting at the seams.
How long ago was that, Gonzalo?
So, yeah, I don't know how this is gonna affect him. I'm not saying that he's gonna lose against Camposos, but he might probably move up just after like this fight. However it goes, it might be a tough one, but he just might move up for sure.
Yeah, Kombucha might.
Yeah, Gonzalo, I've seen the same footage, and they brought in a new trainer, and I asked Teofimo about that. It's a trainer they had known from Florida, and the guy, it seemed to me, and Teo didn't disagree with me, if you go back to that Lomachenko fight, Teo got hit clean a lot, where his head was not moving, didn't tuck in his chin, and for this fight, they seem to be working a lot of upper body and head movement, and I'm with you, Gonzalez. I thought Teo looked great physically. I forgot
what I was trying to say. He was peaking early. He was peaking. He was looking exceptional already.
Right. So I was expecting a very good version of Teofimo Lopez against Kambosos, and it's a shame. And August 14th, guys, let's just put it this way. Based on the way this event has gone, I would put that in pencil and not permanent ink.
yeah. Don't make any plans to go watch that fight. Have a plan B just in case. By the way, check out the 3 knockdown rule with Steve Kim, where they interviewed Teofimo Lopez, and he starts giving information about the deal with Top Rank. Maybe it's more with ESPN. Very, very interesting stuff. Steve, the other thing is this: the Naoya Inoue, the Euro pound for pound #1 fighter in the world, is fighting this Saturday. What was that?
He's fighting. I might actually be driving down there. I want to see him live, and I'll quote by Inoue. Inoue was #1 about a year and a half, 2 years ago. But you know what? I can't be a hypocrite. I can't speak about fighters not being active and rewarding the ones that are. Just my view is busy and as active as Canelo has been and picking up belts. He's my new #1. Inoue is no longer Ichiban, but he's still among the very elite fighters in the world. And I expect him to beat Das Marinas pretty easily. This is another IBF missed mandatory. So then the question becomes, gentlemen, he's got some options, and they're all Filipino. Does he go after John Rel Casimero, who still has to get past a still difficult Rigondo, or does he have the rematch with Donaire in what was a great fight about a year and a half, 2 years ago? I spoke with Donaire, his wife, about 4 months ago in Vegas. He was absolutely convinced he was going to run through Abwali. Like, he said, Steve, watch, I'm going to make this fight easier than you think. But after that, he goes, I want the rematch with Inoue. Honestly, I'm aboard that fight all the way. I think it's a very intriguing rematch.
Yeah. I mean, Donaire, he showed very good defense and improved right hand. Broke Inoue's face in there. I mean, it was a very entertaining fight, and I think. Do you think Inoue wants that rematch as well? Maybe to prove that he can actually beat Donaire better than he did the first time?
Yes, and he also has a WBC title, and Inoue wants to unify. And belts matter. Again, this is not a commentary on the FSC efficacy of the sanctioning bodies or how well they run the sport or the damage that they do, that's a major belt. And based on the way Donaire thrashed a younger, undefeated fighter who's a pretty competent workman in there, I think there's real buzz. And if you want to make Inoue an American star, all right, not just a guy that's big in Japan and in Asia, but an Asian star that comes to America and that has big events, I think that's the one to do it. I mean, Manny Pacquiao needed the Mexicans like Barrera, Morales, and Marquez. And so if you think about it, John Rel Casimero, very hard-hitting Filipino, he does not have the star power or the pedigree of a... And one thing about Donaire, guys, I thought when he was rated number 2 or 3 pound for pound, going into 2011, 12, 13, and 14, even after the loss to Rigondeaux, I thought he was always a little bit overrated in the sense that he had a big left hook, great counterpuncher, but I thought his fundamentals were all over the place, didn't have much of a right hand, and there was a lot of wasted motion. And he admitted to me back then he was kind of burnt out on boxing. That's why he went all the way up to 26. This version of Donaire, technically is a better version. Less wasted movement, and it's more steak and less sizzle. It's a more efficient fighting machine.
That's a very interesting way of putting it, because Donaire was, after he beat Montiel, I mean, look, he dropped Montiel hard, stopped him. Before that, he'd starched Darchinian. He was, a lot of people had him top 3 pound for pound. He was looking like a superstar, and then the performances started getting a little less interesting, a little less dominant, and then the Rigondeaux fight happened. It just all fell apart. So it's interesting that you mentioned that he sort of reinvented himself from a technical standpoint. Yeah.
And I was 2018. That fight was off the charts too, if I remember correctly. I know it's only been 3 years, but that was a great fight too, man.
Which, the Inoue fight, you mean, or?
The Inoue Donaire, the first fight, that was one of the top fights of the year, right? Wasn't it?
I think Ring Magazine had it.
Well, I think many outlets actually did vote that fight of the year, Jimmy. I remember watching that at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. That was the finals of the World Boxing Super Series. And going into the 10th round, I had it 5-4 Inoue, and I thought it could have been flipped. And then Inoue hit him with the left hook to the body. The referee kind of shielded him from being able to score a knockout. But that's the one fight that he faced an opponent in Donaire that could hit him back and hit him hard. And he broke his eye socket. He was out for a while. And I remember leading into that fight, Top Rank had secretly, or not so secretly, made a deal to add him to the roster. And there were a lot of nervous moments for the likes of Todd DeBuff and everyone else that had kind of secured that deal to showcase him on ESPN.
Well, could I ask you now, Steve, though, where he's with the PBC, do you think that might be a problem, making that fight?
That's a great question. There is an issue. Both Casimero and Donaire are on the other side of the street. But my view is Donaire's made it very clear that he doesn't care about that stuff. This is not going to be Errol Spence throwing it in the face of Terrence Crawford saying, hey, you chose the wrong be with. So
do you think doesn't have a standard issued contract? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't really know the exact details, but I would hope, that these things don't stand in the way. But keep this in mind, guys. Before the COVID shut down the world last year, they had, I think the date was April 25th, 2020 at the Mandalay Bay. They were going to do Inoue against Casimero. That was a fight I was looking forward to as much as any other on that calendar, and it got wiped clean because of the world events. I'm not so sure you could make that fight again, but keep this in mind. Guys, especially a guy like Casimero, is not one of the PBC franchises like an Errol Spence or even a Tank Davis, where he can make a lot of money fighting other people from the PBC. Let's say Casimero beats Rigo in style, ends that, a lot of heat on him. Here's the question. Where's his big score? Where's his big financial windfall from that?
Yeah, if he doesn't get Donaire, right? Yeah, that's the or Inoue. Yeah, that's what's. Who else is there? What about that Figueroa? Aren't they in the same weight class or around the same weight classes?
Well, Figueroa is at 122, and obviously Showtime has plans to really try to elevate and showcase Stephen Fulton, who I spoke to last week, doing a story on Ring Magazine. They're going to fight September 11th, and there's going to be belts on the line. And Stephen Fulton told me, and I favor him to win that fight against Figueroa. I don't want to say easily, but I think he's a much better technician. Because I want to be the undisputed champion at 122. So, I think both Inoue and Fulton, if you think they are the chalk within those respective divisions, before you talk about them ever facing each other at whatever weight, they have some business to take care of. Now, the path for Fulton at 122 or Figueroa or Danny Roman is much easier because they're pretty much all in the same umbrella under the PBC promotional realm. It's a little bit more complicated. You're right, guys, for Inoue.
Yeah. Now, did you wasn't like you said wasn't he was with Top Rank? I thought because I even said that because I thought he was Donaire was with Top Rank. Did they just not re-sign him? How did he end up going over to the PBC? Which and again, if we look at history, they haven't been crossing the street for anyone lately, which sucks.
Yeah, Jimmy, Donaire was with Top Rank long time. They had a very productive run all the way up until about 2017 or 18. If you recall, and again, I'm just going off the top of my head here, Donaire was a champion at 122, and then Jesse Magdaleno beat him, I think, on a Pacquiao-Vargas undercard. Okay? Or maybe it was one of the Tim Bradley Pacquiao, I forget. And I think at that point, the marriage came to an end, and then Richard Schaefer had just come off a suspension, started Ringstar Promotions. Donaire, as being a relatively smaller fighter, going into his mid to late 30s, was thought of as, hey, maybe the best of the Filipino Flash has already been seen. His future's in the rearview mirror. Schaefer took a shot, and then what kicked off everything was because of his career fortunes, and there weren't that many great options at the time. Remember, he entered into the World Boxing Super Series, which was a pretty good field, which included Ryan Burnett, who he broke his ribs, and there was Olani Tete, and obviously Inoue. So that's what happened. He was with Top Rank all until him and Top Rank, I don't want to call it an amicable split, but they certainly had a divorce.
That's okay. That's a lot of twists and turns there in terms of hopefully they can make the fight, man. But like Jimmy said, unfortunately the PBC has not been willing to work lately with Top Rank. So I mean, I guess we keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. But in terms of Donaire, by the way, have you ever seen any other fighter do what he's done in terms of a comeback, but not only come back when most people thought he was done, but actually do it at a lower weight class? Going down back to another weight class.
I have to think about that. I asked Nonito when we had dinner several months ago. I said, Nonito, what were you doing at 26? My God, I think about it. He fought Nicholas Walters, who had to be about 145 the night they fought. Okay, and he gets stretched out, and it was kind of a bad knockout. And that was in 2014. And even then, you're thinking that's the end of the career. That's 7 years ago, which is really remarkable. The way Nonito explained it is that I was burnt out on boxing. I really didn't want to do it. It wasn't my full passion, but the money was so good. I still had a family to feed. I have a wife to support. There's a lifestyle to be led. So his compromise was, okay, I'll keep boxing, but I'm not going to really work at making a weight that's uncomfortable for me. And so he'll even tell you that basically those 6-7 years after the Rigondeaux fight, going all the way into his return back to bantamweight, that I don't want to call it a vacation. It's probably a working vacation where he's able to pick up a lot of good paydays.
Well, that's spiritually, he checked out. He just wasn't in it. You know what I mean? And if you don't have that burning desire, that's not. You can't take that shit. Like you said, fuck. You can't pretend to be a boxer. You either got to go into it. It's just a very not the sport to do that with.
Absolutely, man.
But and I can say too, very rare. I don't think I've ever seen a smaller fighter do this at his age.
Yeah, I mean,
BDA.
think about the fight he had with Cesar Juarez. I think it was on the Versus Network, which is an absolute war.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I remember watching this fight saying, how in the world is a guy like Donaire getting banged up by a slow, one-dimensional, relatively unskilled Juarez? It's because one guy wanted to fight a lot more than the other. Really, Donaire was on cruise control for at least 5 years post-Rigondeaux.
And you know what's the impressive thing about Donaire, that now that you mention it, if he was indeed on cruise control, he still managed to hurt Nicholas Walters in their fight. He still managed to hurt Frampton a little bit in that fight. He dropped Rigondeaux. I mean, everybody he fought, even if he lost, he ended up hurting them at some point in their fights. I mean, this guy just like you say, he just had to rededicate himself, and because he had the talent, the physical, that left hook of his still as dangerous as it was 5-7 years ago. So it's amazing to see that he's actually rededicated himself. It's really, and like you said, was that Chief?
What was it? Was it the loss? Was it the loss to Rigondeaux he couldn't handle? Did it affect him that much?
No,
you think, Steve?
Even before then, he'll tell you. Even before then, he was just kind of. I don't want to give him a token effort, and you got to give Rigondeaux credit. I think that on any given night, Rigondeaux can give anyone problems. So his heart was not in it. For some reason, he just said, Steve, at that point, he wasn't a dedicated guy to the sport of boxing. And you could just, certain performances that he had. I remember one time he fought Rafael Vasquez Jr. I think it was on the Chavez-Rubio undercard in San Antonio. I was ringside for that. And I'm watching this fight, and he won easily. But it was just a lot of grab bag, a lot of aimless movement. He's just kind of getting through the fight. And I said to myself, is he really one of the top 3 fighters in the sport? I truly believe that he's a much better guy now in terms of mental focus and preparation with the help of his wife, who's been instrumental, than he was when he was younger. And the other factor is he's developed a right hand. He's a much more complete, dangerous two-handed puncher. Because if you look at the last knockout or the last knockdown that finished the fight against Wale, he kind of went into a shift, but a lot of that was set up by a right hand, and he switched over his stance.
Yep.
You know, back in what was supposed to be his prime, you ever watch that And One basketball? Remember And One, Hot Sauce, all those guys that do all fancy basketball? He was like that guy that would dribble the ball between his legs 85 times and spin around and do a 360, and it led to nothing. Like, now he's got much more purpose in his movement. That's the way I look at it. Now he's Chris Paul instead of And One.
I remember at the time, Steve, you guys, that there was a lot of talk that Nonito Naide was supposed to be like Manny Pacquiao, and that pressure that he had to go up in divisions, you know, with all the fame that Pacquiao had, and then you got this other Filipino trying to follow in his footsteps, probably led him to that path that I want to climb the weights. You know, I want to climb the weights, but obviously he was not going to have the same success as Manny Pacquiao, and that's a big burden to have, right?
That could have played a factor. And Gonzalo, your statement made me recall this for some reason. If you go back to when Donaire really burst on the scene, he was the first guy to really slay the dragon in an undefeated Vic Darchinyan, who was just blowing guys out. They have a rematch, I think, like 7 years later, where it was a very faded Darchinyan who had been knocked out a few times. Darchinyan was 5 minutes away from winning a decision. I mean, Donaire looked terrible that night. It's really remarkable now that if you actually go back post-Rigondeaux all the way to the World Boxing Super Series, how many of just like dead, mediocre performances Donaire had in that stretch.
Oh yeah, Steve, going into that, when they announced the lineup for that series, I remember I saw his name. I went, I even think I tweeted out like an ugh, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I was shocked. You're right. It's shocking to see a guy his size to that weight class at his age to look and actually not just, you know, get back his pep in his step, but folding new shit. That's just almost unheard of. You're right. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a statistic here, and I looked it up, and I was one of the few people going into that Inoue fight. I actually thought it was a very dangerous fight. And there's an article out there, you could Google it, that if you look at Donaire's record below 118, going into that Inoue fight, he had lost his second pro fight, believe it or not, in a 5-round fight. Not a 6-round. Somehow they had a 5-round fight in Vallejo, California. So you throw that out. So in 27 fights below 118, he was basically undefeated. So now you look at it, he's probably close to, 28-1, with that one loss being against Inoue when he fights at bantamweight or below. It goes to show you, Jimmy, and we say this a lot, weight classes matter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
I've always said, I said it on this air before, that if he never would have lost his focus at 118, he never would have lost. I don't think anyone could have beaten him at that weight.
You're right. And maybe, and guys, do you recall, was there a guy at 118 we all wanted him to face? Because I know that guys like Inoue and Chocolatito were still at 105, 108, 112. Estrada was a flyweight. I don't recall any natural rivals where I said to myself, God, it's really a shame he never fought him. I just think there probably were greener, more lucrative opportunities for him at 22 and 26. And so if he wasn't before, guys, after that Wally fight, to me, he's a surefire, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's got that. Oh, go ahead, Chief. Go ahead.
That's what I said after the fight. I punched his ticket after the Inoue fight, to be honest with you. I thought that one, he did so good in that. I was like, this dude deserves to be in.
Chief, go ahead, man.
Oh, and by the way, guys, it was funny. I wanted to call you, but I was in a dead area going through the desert. I was listening to your guys' post-fight rap show of Taylor Ramirez. I went to that fight. I drove in and out of Vegas to L.A., and I agree with you guys. There used to be, I'm old enough to remember, and this is a long time ago, when Kenny Bayless actually used to be a world-class referee. And, Jimmy, I think it was you that talked about that second knockdown of Ramirez by Taylor. There's no doubt about it. Bayless played a role in it because he hesitated. And for 1 second, Ramirez didn't understand, am I getting broken here, and are we clinching, and is it kind of an unofficial timeout? He let up, and Taylor, to his credit, said, you better protect yourself at all times. And even the way Kenny Bayless reacted toward it, he didn't pick up the count for at least a couple of seconds. So I'm watching this fight. We had a balcony media press row, and I'm thinking, okay, is that a foul? Kenny Bayless himself didn't even know if that was a knockdown or not. And so that's the thing that I'll always remember about that night. That's a historic night for Josh Taylor, but what a bad night for Kenny Bayless.
He might
be
past
that was my take, Steve, coming out of that night. That was the thing I hopped on the most. And I don't blame it. I said that. I don't blame Taylor for doing it. It wasn't like a lot of people were saying, oh, Jimmy, you think he took a cheap shot? No, not at all. He did what he was supposed to do. But because Ramirez's face was facing the other direction, and all right, Bayless kept putting his hands in there, slapping. Before he break him up, he give him a slap and then break him up. So he feels the slap. Even if for a second in his mind he's expecting now the breakup, and all of a sudden it wasn't there, boom, and you could tell Bayless was like, oh shit, what did I do? What did you do? You know what I mean? So yeah,
that's all because of the terrible style. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I noticed that they put him in the card this last weekend, and he was refereeing the fight between Pedraza and the other guy. I think his last name's Rodriguez. But it was a righty versus a southpaw, so he was back in action, and you can tell because when Ramirez fought Joshua was a righty versus a southpaw, you can tell that this last weekend he was a little gun shy as far as stepping in and intervening in the fight because he realized that what he did the 2 weeks prior was a bad thing to do. So if you watch the fight that happened this last weekend, you could tell that he obviously had that in his mind, or maybe somebody told him something about that.
Well, it's about time because his MO has been the second someone grabs, he doesn't let them fight out of a clinch. And this time he was trying to do what Richard Steele used to do, is slap their hands and let them fight their way out. And when you're used to a referee having a certain pattern all the time, and his MO is the second they clinch, make them break, you start slapping their hands away. Ramirez, who should have protected himself, and it was his fault, but because he was used to this and he expected it, that's what happened. And Taylor did what he was supposed to do. He saw an opening. The referee did not say stop or break, so he took the opportunity. But it goes back to Kenny.
Lapse of brain.
It goes back to but it goes back to Kenny Bayless consistently stopping a fight the second that they wrap up and constantly making them break instead of making them fight their way out. Which most
Wonder why he had that style.
I don't know, because he was Mayweather's referee for most of his career.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, it wasn't the Pedraza fight. It was the Shakur Stevenson fight. That was a righty versus a lefty, and Kenny Bayless was refereeing, and I think that was it. Sorry.
No,
you guys
I have a question
don't listen
for
to what
you
I'm
guys,
saying. Just
Jimmy, and
continue.
the other guys that have fought. Do you like the hands being slapped or the gloves being slapped down? Because I've heard like 50 different opinions on that. In my view, I think a referee should step back and say, give verbal instructions to fight out or make it real. But when you start slapping the hand down, you're actually creating a disadvantage. They always tell you to keep your hands up in a good defensive posture. Well, if you're knocking my hands down, you don't want your hands near your waist or near the thigh, do you?
Steve, my grandfather.
Go ahead.
Steve, my grandfather. Sorry, Chief. You got something?
Well, he's only knocking their hands down like most referees do when they knock their hands down is inside of an actual clinch. To where if you're able to get hit with anything coming from the outside, that's extremely rare. Like these guys are really close to each other when he's slapping his hands down. It's not like he's slapping their hands down at range. And it's usually when someone's got the arm hooked under. When he or anyone else for that matter, especially Richard Steele, would slap the hands down. So if you're going to slap the hands down, it needs to be part of your regular style of refereeing with like Steve Kim said, with the instructions of work your way out, work your way out, work your way out, not just
exactly.
You got to give them the commands. You have the right to fight, stop holding, and follow up with it. But if you're just slapping hands like what he was doing the other night, that's where I agree with Steve Kim.
And it was inconsistent too. He would slap, and other times he would just put his hands between. My grandfather, who's a trainer for years, and he would scream at referees if they'd slap. Stop slapping the hands! Like you're supposed to break them up. You're supposed to step in like a vice, like a thing they get people out of car accidents, jaws of life, and you separate them. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Or you walk up verbally at the same time so you get their attention. You slap them both in the back. Guys, boom, and like to separate them. There's different things you do, but when you're just reaching in and pawing at, I mean, I didn't have much of a fight career. The few, amateur, as far as I went with that, I fucking hated it. Hated a touchy referee. It just takes my mind off what I'm doing.
Well, Jimmy,
but that's me.
Jimmy, I have a theory about why referees are so bad at it now, because the fighters themselves, they're not good at infighting. There's not a lot of infighting.
No!
So
Oh
these
my God,
referees
you're
are like,
so
what the hell do we do here?
Amen.
Hey, I got a question.
Amen, exactly. Amen. There's nobody good at it anymore, dude. Where are they? Ugh.
Right. So if you're asking me to referee a certain style of game, and all of a sudden, like in basketball, like for years, there used to be hand checking in basketball, right? But if all of a sudden you start thinking, hey, you got to call that, well, for referees, they're like, geez, what now? It is different. I talk to Buddy McGirt a lot. I love hanging out with Buddy at his gym after my feeble attempts to work out. And he'll tell you, like, Steve, I look at boxing today, and it's unrecognizable. Like when I see infighting, Steve, all it is nowadays is legalized clutching. That's basically infighting now. It's not really fighting. It's like, hold on for your lives.
That's the thing.
Exactly. That went away with Salido. I think that was the last true good inside fighter. You know what I mean? Like really had to make a living in that pocket.
But so yeah, I enjoyed your show. You guys kept me going for about an hour before I hit the desert, and you guys were just ripping Kenny Bayless, and I was laughing throughout because it's a true story. So we're waiting for Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez, two very good guys, to come up to speak to the media. And some of us press guys were kind of like grousing to ourselves about, God, the refereeing wasn't that good. Here's the scary part, guys. In a state like Nevada, who's your good, young, up-and-coming generation of referee? Who? Can you name one?
Nope. They're going to pay them better, Steve, in my opinion. They need to pay them better and give them better education, more standardized training, and just pay them better.
Okay. Yeah. But remember, that's never, a lot of this stuff is so political. And a lot of these guys are political appointees. And, Jimmy, you've heard me say this before. Some of these judges and referees are more entrenched than Supreme Court justices. I mean, just think about it. I mean, how many years have we had Adelaide Byrd, Moretti,
oh my God,
Dwayne Ford? So, and no matter what their job performance was, no matter what opinion you had of them, guess what? They were still always going to be ringside.
Yeah, that's the thing. They always end up. You always see their faces even after they screw up. I mean, the other thing I hated was which referee was the one that started the whole tagline before the fight. You know, like that. Let's get it on. What I say, you must obey.
Mills Lane?
Was it Mills Lane?
Mills Lane. That was Mills Lane.
So he's the one that started it all.
Good referee, though.
Sure, but I mean,
and then Joe Cortez, and then I think, look, I like Mills. I met him once with a great character. I thought he was a good referee. I'm not upset about the taglines. Look, I could see why there's criticism, but I care about the performance. A young referee that I like that has rarely had any bad nights. I think this guy moves really well around the ring. He's very athletic, and he runs a clean fight. I like Harvey Dock out of New York. I think he's a very good young referee.
Harvey Dock. I need to see a photo of him to remember. I think I'm looking at.
He's a black belt guy, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Center. He's based out of New York.
Okay, he's New York School of Refereeing. Yeah, I'm looking it up. So you think that guy he's doing all right?
Every time I see Harvey Dock, I say, okay, we're gonna get a good run. But you know what? I used to say that a long time ago about Kenny Bayless.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Right.
So it could change.
And I agree with Miles. Yeah, he was a judge too, wasn't he? In real life, like sat on a district court bench.
A real life judge.
Yeah, and I liked him.
Jimmy,
I also liked the guy Frank Cappuccino because he let people fight.
I like Cappuccino. He asked one time. Frank Cappuccino was a salty old guy that was a nice guy. I remember one time in a fight. It was on Tuesday Night Fights. This heavyweight that I knew, Everton Davis, was getting knocked around. Really a bad night for him. And he takes a bad knockdown, but he was a really ballsy guy. He gets up. Cappuccino gives him the 8 count, wipes off his glove. He goes, "Hey, kid, do you know where you are?" And I think they're at the Blue Horizon. And Everton Davis goes, "Yeah, I'm in a hell of a fight." Cappuccino just laughed and said, "Okay, go out there, kid. You're good."
Hey, speaking of refereeing, I
watched the second Triple G Canelo fight many times, and I noticed that referee Benji Estevez, you could hardly see him like in the background or interceding in the action. Where I realized that's a good referee, which he doesn't get involved much. Maybe had a lot to do with how the fighters fought. But then I went back. Sometimes I look at old fights and I see that Benji Estevez was a referee when he was young. But if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't realize that it's him. And it's like in the military, they would tell us. I remember the drill sergeants. The guy that you hardly notice is the guy that's gonna be like the best soldier, because the guys that are always standing out, those are the guys you gotta watch out for.
That's a good point.
Gonzalo, Benji Estevez, big fan of his. I know him a little bit throughout the years. Really honest guy, works hard in there. He is another one that in a big fight, I would absolutely trust him. There's no doubt about that. So, but again, he's been around a while too. Another thing that I really hate about referees, and you could really see how subtle they are in their bias about who the A side is. I've seen too many fights where fighters are in a clinch, and if the boxer is the A side or the house fighter, and the aggressive guy has to be the one charging in, and every time they clinch, I've noticed referees make a concerted effort. They push that one guy like it's a Jim Brown forearm, like almost across the ring. And my thing is, ask these guys to take a step back. It is not your job to sap their energy by shoving them across the ring. And I remember this fight between Joseph Diaz and Gary Russell, that little referee that always does the DC fights. I thought it was so obvious and blatant what he was doing.
Yeah, when Hopkins fought in Maryland, I think it was his 6th title defense, And that Kenny Chevalier was the referee. This motherfucker, every time
That's the referee. I cannot stand him. I think he's awful.
those.
I'll be honest. I think he's awful.
Even Hopkins said at some point, he said, I think I got hit harder by the referee than I did by the opponent. I mean, this guy screams at them and he slaps them like it seems like he came out of a fucking Three Stooges movie or something. He abuses the fighters in there.
He's a PBC favorite.
Or is he Mo?
Is he the same guy that caused that saved Butte in that fight in Canada?
No, that was Marlon Wright.
Marlon B. Wright.
Yeah, he was horrible.
Or Marlon B. Wrong.
Oh, come on. He's dead now. He's dead now, man. He's dead. Come on.
Who said that? Who said that?
Yeah, who did say
No, hey, Kenny Chevalier, guys, do me a favor. When you guys are utterly bored, go back to the Gary Russell, Joseph Diaz fight and just see the bias of just literally shoving Diaz across the ring a couple of times. It was so obvious. Boy, and the Joseph Diaz camp is, when they went into that fight, they had to go to D.C., they were the mandatory. They didn't have a lot of leverage. It was a PBC Showtime card. They had it in writing. They thought that you're not going to get Kenny Chevalier. So they said, okay, so we're good going to D.C. Well, week of the fight, they got these announcements, and it was Kenny Chevalier as the referee.
Well, they should have known something was up at the end of the fight when fucking Chevalier thanked Al Heyman. When he ducked his head into the microphone, I knew something was up.
Hey, by the way, I don't want to.
No, I'm just busting stones.
I don't want. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't want to put the Chevalier down too much, but when I Google his image on the related searches, it gives me that Warwick. You know, the guy that played the midget in those movies. He played one of the Ewoks. That's what I get when I search Kenny Chevalier. It gives me that guy on the side, man. I don't know who's doing that, man. Yeah, that's awful, man. I'm not kidding. I just put it up on the screen. Fuck, what was I going to ask about referees? Man? Oh, yeah, speaking of referees, Steve, what did you think about this fight, Ponce, or I forget what his name is, the Argentinian dude, I guess the British guy on the zone, and the British guy was getting...
Look,
yeah.
Totally irresponsible. Look, I want a good fight as much as anybody, but you can't have or say corners are the first step in protecting a fighter, and once they make a move to surrender, to throw the towel out, especially in a fight that had already gone 10 rounds. And Ponce is one of these physical, rugged guys who may not hit you hard in one punch and get you out of there like a Julian Jackson, but he lays bricks one after another, and they're all very painful. And Louis Ritson had taken a pretty good beating throughout the night. It was getting, and as soon as that towel is thrown in, I believe the referee then has an out to say, hey, your corner called for the fight. I mean, let's say something really grave happened, where Steve Gray throws out the towel, and then Ponce just lands a lightning bolt and lays him out flat, stretches him out unconscious. Could you imagine the ramifications of that? So if I'm the commission there at the BBBC, I'm having a meeting with all my officials saying, guys, when that towel is thrown in, we are not throwing that towel back out. It is not our job to play judge and jury at that point and to overrule a corner. I thought that was a terrible decision by Gray.
Why do you think he did it? Is it just because he wanted to be the boss? or like, well, no, seriously, I mean, the last time I saw that was Arthur McKenty Jr.
I think some of it's ego. Some of it is ego. If you go back to the Miguel Cotto, Yuri Foreman fight at Yankee Stadium, similar situation happened where I believe it was Mercanti Jr. decided to play God. Look, I'm like anyone else. I'm a bloodthirsty ghoul. I make no bones about it. I like to see a little bloodshed. This is why we're here. But at the same time, we have to have some common sense. And I thought common sense was lost there, which was really a shame. So when I'm watching that, I'm thinking, look, Ritson gave a good account of himself. He's a very honest fighter. He's a little bit limited. And Ponce is a fight engine. And I believe those guys are really physically strong. And many of them, outside of Maidana, they hit just hard enough not to maybe knock you out, but they beat you up physically. And it was clear after the first knockdown, that was it for Ritson. And you always say the trainer and the corner knows the fighter better than anyone else. So here's my question. Why the hell were you overruling him?
You know what? I'm going to look into that too, because I'd like to hear if they interviewed the referee and see what's what. Because, I mean, throwing the towel out is... I don't know. Maybe his excuse will be, well, I was trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, the fighter, maybe see if he could pull something off. But, I mean, that's
or maybe, hey, I don't want to be cynical, and this is just a joke, so please don't have anyone sue me. Maybe he played the over.
Oh.
Just kidding.
You never know.
Hey, Steve, now that we got you on the phone, can I ask Steve a question I've been meaning to ask? Steve, are you high on Ben, the young Ben, the welterweight from out of England? The way he blasted out Vargas?
What was his name?
Connor Ben.
Connor Ben?
Oh, Connor Ben. Yeah, I actually like Connor. I like Connor a lot more than I did 2 years ago when I saw him hit twice. And he seemed to get a really fortunate decision in this 6-rounder. I spoke to Connor because I was part of the pre-fight show for the Nares Haney on Matchroom on their Facebook program. Very nice young man. He's got a good head on his shoulders. A very intelligent kid. And we spoke off the air about that fight, and he said, "See, that's the best thing that ever happened to me." He did admit that he got too big for his britches. Look, am I as high on him as, let's say, Virgil Ortiz or certainly on Boots Ennis, who I love, both of those guys? Maybe not, but he's pretty good. And he fought in his last fight, who, say what you want about Samuel Vargas, he's one of these guys that you have to beat on the way up. He gives you good quality rounds, professional resistance, as I like to say. And it's a good barometer given the fact he had fought Errol Spence years ago, and he went 7-8 rounds with Virgil Ortiz last summer. The way Ben just blew him out of there, it's one of those times where you say to yourself, Jimmy, maybe I was wrong. This guy's better than I thought. So I'm actually pretty high on Connor Ben, and he's an intelligent guy, which matters. So I think he's got a shot, Jimmy.
Okay, excellent. I know you're high on Xander, Xander, the young 18-year-old. I'm high on him, too.
Xander. Guys, I was also high on Felix Verdejo, but I think this is a little bit different because he's in a much better gym situation. He seems to be a little bit more mature, and he's only 18. And, again, I don't have a crystal ball, but when he's 21, 22, and he gets that man strength, I think he's going to absolutely hit through people. And he gets good quality work in the gym. He's got an uncommon maturity. So I'm high on Xander Zayas, absolutely.
Steve, that's the I watched him fight, like, the first time I watched him was his fight before this one, I believe. And that's exactly what I came away with because I heard about him. And I said, he's 18? And because he fought so mature. He digs to the body. He fights, when he's fighting like a big man. And I'm like, damn, he's got that already at the age of 18? That's pretty impressive. That's what impressed me about him is his age.
It's interesting because he's already been in the gym with Adrian Broner, Danny Jacobs, Amir Imam. They've got a good gym. The Hot Box gym in Davie, Florida, run by his trainer. That's a good. Have a lot of pros come out of there. I've known Xander pretty well for about 2 years. I did the first major story on him for ESPN talking about how Top Rank was so high on him. They actually signed him up before his 17th birthday and just waited for him to turn of age because they weren't going to wait for the Olympics. And his dream was to be like Cotto, and he said specifically, and he wanted to sign with Tom. Bob Arum did a great job with Cotto. And I don't know what's going to happen here because he's 9-0. And to keep this in perspective about how good he is, guys, he beat 3 fights ago, James, black kid out of Philadelphia, that just recently beat Vito Melnicki, who's also not a bad prospect. That's with the PBC out of Jersey. Vito had some ability. I leaving Joe Goosen, but Xander Zayas mastered James Martin over 6 rounds, just boxing him, just being very basic, sound, and showing some patience. The very next fight, James Martin is paired with Melnicki on Fox, and he, I thought, beat him pretty convincingly. Busted him up, bloodied his nose, and you said, wow, it really showed you just how advanced Xander Zayas is compared to a lot of fighters, not only of his age, the same stage.
Yep. Wow. I think he's better than Berlanga, in my opinion. He's better than Berlanga.
Oh, better than Berlanga?
I think so. I'm
prone to agree with you. I have some concerns about Berlanga. He seems to be living a very flashy lifestyle.
Yes.
And look, this is me becoming the old guy telling everyone to get off the lawn. But I don't like it when a fighter who hasn't done all that much is flashing all the time, living a certain lifestyle. And look, he's not a bad guy. I've talked to Berlanga a lot. He is like your classic New York Philly or New York Rican. He's bold. He's cocky. He's got a personality. But I've talked to a few people. They are worried about his overall focus. They are. And so, I thought the last fight with Damon Nicholson is something that he needed. But it also showed you just how far away he is from actually competing at the big-time level at 168.
Yeah, that's what Recognize said. I remember you said that you think he lacks focus. There's something not working right
I'm
there.
looking at his, you know what it is? I'm looking at his IG, and everything that Steve Kim has said is spot on. You could tell he's a nice kid. Like, you could definitely tell. But he's splurging. He's like, everything is announced on YouTube. He's showing he's got a lot of people's attention. There's a lot of rappers that like him. You could lose focus a little bit when you're doing all that type of socializing. Boxing is still a mean, gritty sport. It's a poor man sport.
There's no doubt. And look, the one thing about Xander Zayas is that he's such a nice, polite kid. He really is. And right now his focus is on boxing. I remember when I spoke to him about a year ago. I think he's contemplating taking some college courses just to stay busy. But I can guarantee you that he fought on Saturday. I think within the next week, he'll be back at the gym. He'll be working out with his trainer, Javier Centeno, getting some work done. And he's around some really, really good people. But Bob Arum has made it clear, we're not going to rush this kid. I don't care what you guys say. So, he'll be put on the slow track. They're not going to be afraid of Benitez, okay?
Hey, by the way, speaking of Bob Arum,
the sport's always starving for a great point. It's not the same without a great Puerto Rican champion.
That's true.
You're right, too. He's articulate. Absolutely. He's intelligent, handsome kid. He could be a big moneymaker, and Bob knows that.
Steve.
No, so I'm certainly rooting for the kid, and I really like him a lot, and he's reliable. You schedule a fight for him, he shows up and he does his job.
Chief, you were going to ask a question?
I was wondering if he's seen a lot of Tim Tszyu and what he thinks of him. And what's the likelihood that Tim Tszyu is going to get a title shot at 154? I wonder if he's had enough seasoning. He's certainly very marketable. His resemblance to his father is uncanny. Like, you just know that's Kostya's son. And he's one of the better sons of a former world champion. This is not Omar or even Julio Jr. This is a real fighter. He's got a big right hand. He seems to have a real understanding of how to square a guy off with the jab. It's interesting. Is he a top 10 junior middleweight? I know he's being moved up the ratings. I expect him to take care of Zarafa fairly easily. That power is real. He's very marketable. It looks to me like he is poised to become the next big draw in Australia. The question then becomes, can they lure anybody over with a major belt? And at 54, most of those belts are going to be tied up, if not all of them, with the PBC. So I wonder, does Tszyu have to make some business decisions to get a piece of the pie there? Well, they've already offered $10 million.
I'm high on Tim Tszyu.
They've already offered $10 million to the WBO champion, I don't remember how to say his name, or to Charlo, whichever one will answer first, even though they're already contracted to each other, and nobody's answered yet. So, I mean, I know they've already got a fight scheduled.
Yeah.
But they're already putting the money out there to try and get people into Australia to want to see this kid and for him to get a title.
Yeah. And I before the COVID, I remember Top Rank was going to enter into some sort of co-promotional deal. And then I asked Arum about that 2 months ago after his last fight, if they still were working with Tszyu, and he says no, but he told me they have a good relationship with those people. That could be worked out. But if you look at his career progression, the guys that he's facing at the moment, facing some pretty recognizable names, and he's not just beating these guys, he's just destroying them in a fashion where you want to see him again. So Tim Tszyu, if he was a stock, I would absolutely buy him.
Hey, speaking, you mentioned Xavier, the prospect that everyone's high on. He wants to take some college courses. Next time you talk to him, try to talk him out of it, man. Because I don't like it when fighters have one foot out the door and they got options outside the ring. I like my fighters with no options so that they can focus on boxing. And speaking
he
of
wants
options,
he wants them stuck into the game. That's what it is.
That's right.
When you were talking about David Berlanga right now at 68, I thought about this other guy that I have like this creeping sensation that he's gonna be like really, really good, and he's gonna fight Mario Casares. His name is David Morrell. He's also a 68-pounder from, I think, from Puerto Rico. That guy is good because I just saw some clips, and he's got the length, he's got the power, and he throws a lot of punches.
David Morrell.
Gonzalo, I want to make a prediction right now.
Harlem.
When Gervonta Davis moves up to super middleweight, that's going to be the next WBA regular title he fights for. Mark it down. Timestamp this right now, guys.
Oh, and now that you mention him, I wanted to ask you a question regarding Tank Davis, because I know that he has had weight issues, but is it easy to suggest, since he's such a short guy, that's also stepping into his prime, to his man strength, that he's not gonna be that good because he's so short at 40 against the elite guys, but there's also a possibility that since he's still growing for a short guy, that he's gonna be strong enough to deal with those guys and even be a player in that division if he decides to remain.
Well, there's a possibility of that. Keep this in mind. In terms of his man strength, I think he's already 25 or 26. He's actually a little bit older than the rest of the three guys that we mention him with all the time. The fight with Barrios, look, I think Barrios presents some problems because he's tall and lanky. But let's face it, he's not really what you'd call a champion at 140. There's one champion. That's Josh Taylor. And I still can't get out of my mind fortunate decision against Batir Akhmedov. Or whatever that guy's name is, the one that Joel Diaz trained. I thought that was a clear victory for Batir. There's a reason why they chose him. You know, Tank was at his optimum weight class. I get the sense he'd be a lightweight. I mean, look at his size. Do I think that his days of making 130 are over? Yeah, I think he was willing to do that for Santa Cruz, and I heard there were heavy financial penalties if he didn't make that weight class at 130. I understand why he skipped over 135 completely, other than the fact that they could cherry-pick a regular belt. Now, look, Davis is a talented guy. He's become a legit ticket seller in America. However, he's got one really good victory over Pedraza, which keeps aging better and better. You got to give him credit for that. That's a nice resume-building victory. But a lot of these belts are what I call empty calories. What do they really mean?
And it wasn't the last one a junior belt, too? That was the one he grabbed at 135.
Yeah,
that was just a junior belt, too.
Yeah, it was a regular belt, but he did grab a belt at 135, and he's got a regular belt at 140.
And if you listen to Ellaby, man, it's a fact.
Leo Santa Cruz was not even a top 10 130-pounder in my book. I was there at the fight where he won that belt. It was on the Wilder Ortiz undercard. That fight was so boring. You should have been in that arena. I nicknamed him that night, and it was blasphemy to me because I really like Leo. I called him Leo Santa Snooze. He was literally putting the audience to sleep. And him at 130 against Tank, who's this big, strong kid, it was like throwing... You just knew they weren't doing any damage.
Dude, he was looking at him. Remember right before the knockout? He was just sitting there letting those shoe shine bounce off him, just trying to time him for that uppercut. It was so, and you know, people, oh man, there's power. Right. Yeah, you're right, dude. I wasn't impressed with that at all.
So my strategy for Santa Cruz to win that fight was to walk him backwards. Go ahead, Steve.
No, well, so my view is that sooner or later, Devin Haney will be at 140, Teofimo Lopez will be at 140, and then Tank's at 140. So if Josh Taylor relinquishes the belt, because I don't think his time at junior welterweight is long either, I have a question. It's a question that I asked Teofimo. Will that group of fighters, which I guess includes Ryan Garcia, will they ever fight each other? I'm watching the Kings on Showtime. What a great era. Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Durant fought 9 times in total. really carried the sport, provided great memories. These guys, I just don't have a lot of faith in what's going on there.
Yeah, Ryan Garcia coming back too, right? He posted a message saying, "I'm gonna take names." What I'm thinking, maybe you should take names of doctors because he's got anxiety supposedly and mental issues. I mean, what's he doing now? Like, essentially, did he avoid Fortuna? Is that what happened?
I don't know if you call it that, but look, I know I guess some heat for what we said, which all we did was ask a question of, is he really getting treated? That's the question that I have, and there used to be a time where if you really were getting treated, you were institutionalized. And look, it's a bad look when you drop out of a fight citing mental illness, and literally a day or two later, there are social media postings of you at the beach. Not Betty Ford, the beach.
Exactly.
And then there's other things. And then when the Fortuna Joseph Diaz fight is basically announced, that very same day, within the hour, you're posting up pictures of you back training again. You can't have it both ways. In one sense, that if you really are getting treatment, a lot of rehabilitation facilities that I know of, that first thing they do is they take your phone. You're not allowed to be on social media. You're not even allowed to consume media in any form, newspaper, magazines, internet. He's trying to have it both ways, in my view. Mental illness is real. It's a real serious issue that afflicts a lot of people. Now, what I find interesting, gentlemen, is that a lot of people in boxing agree with a lot of the stuff that I've said, and they have their doubts. They don't want to say it publicly because of the backlash. Now, I get that, but I think there comes a point in time that you have to hold people accountable. And, on one hand, you want to say, I'm working on being a better version of myself. You know what? We're all for that. But if you are going to claim something that is that serious, that has such ramifications, just provide some proof once in a while, or don't do things that'll cast doubt on what your current condition is. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to ask, man. And I don't know, it just seems like maybe he doesn't have the right type of handlers, because I think his handlers are essentially his parents. But then again, he's the gravy train, so maybe they're afraid to rock the apple cart. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that family.
Also, remember the new Instagram and all those platforms. A lot of guys get a lot of attention when they spill out what's going on in their life. He could be doing it for that too. I don't doubt that he has some type of mental illness, but I don't know if it's as bad yet. Later on in life, it could really show itself. But I don't think it's
you're right. But
bad as.
Look, I completely agree with you, but between everyday stress and having a real mental issue, thing that has to be pointed out is that a guy like Deontay Wilder, who did the exact same actions, people would be lampooning him. Let's be honest about it. Let's just be as blunt as we can be about this. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that I didn't think what we said was all that bad, and next thing you know, we're getting blowback. And I just tell people, you're stating things that we said that were not said. Listen to the actual show. I wish Ryan well. I have no ill will towards him. He probably hates us or me specifically, which is fine. But we're allowed to have our opinions. Our jobs, last I checked, are not to be cheerleaders. But I think a lot of these people, they want to keep their access. They want to be friendly with them, which is fine. That's your business. I'm not going to get involved. But I just think that if it was a lot of other athletes that pulled out of a game or their commitment, and they said, I've got to pull out because of mental illness, and you start talking trash about Devin Haney, literally an hour with him having a really good fight, saying, I'd ice you, how do you think that's going to play? Devin Haney did his job. He actually showed up. That guy kills himself to make 135, and now you're making fun of a guy facing a guy that you didn't? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just a rat bastard, but I'm not changing.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, listen.
No, Steve, it's the culture.
It's the culture, yeah. Listen, if they come at you for speaking the truth, just say, "Hey, stop Asian hate." throw it back at them. Play their game. You know what I mean? Just get down to their level. That's what I would do.
Right.
No, it is. It is the culture. It's the
Well,
whole
anyway.
fucking the victimhood culture. He's just taking advantage of it, as far as I'm concerned. He's a very, very narcissistic kid. My personal opinion, for whatever it's worth.
Does anyone else see a comparison
I have
between him
no
and Victor
ill will
Ortiz?
against him. Well, look, before I wrap it up, I have no ill will against anybody. My job is to call it the way I see it. But this is what we deal with in terms of our culture. Look, I'm very friendly with Tim Bradley. Tim Bradley, I thought, was the most honest guy in that ESPN broadcast on Saturday by saying, man, Shakur won, but man, that was kind of boring. He didn't help. Well, that's the truth. And you know, look, and Shakur Stevenson, who I have a lot of respect for, I said the exact same thing. Shakur on Saturday night apologizes for his performance, saying, hey, I was sick. I'll be better next time. I thought that was the perfect reply. Well, now today, he's MFing Tim Bradley. Well, what changed?
Yep.
Why are you angry at Bradley?
Yep, exactly.
You're the one who apologized for your own performance. You know, it's like this. Like Larry Merchant once told me about our jobs. This is not a popularity contest, and I applaud Tim Bradley. He didn't go with the party line. I think he's a very entertaining announcer. I think he's the perfect contrast to Andre Ward. And in my view, he was the shining star of that broadcast on Saturday. So it is what it is. Our job is to give opinions. You're not going to always agree with this, but it is what it is. Guys, I got to get running to dinner, man. It was great catching up with you fellas.
Same here, man.
Steve, we're also going to talk to you, dude. As always, man. Call in any time, brother, for sure.
Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. I'll keep listening, and we'll do it again soon, guys. Have a great night, okay?
You too, man. Take it easy. Thank you for being on. Yes, and do not forget, check out Steve Kim. You can check him out on Twitter. Let me just get his Twitter here real quick. It's loading up real slow. This for some reason my internet, man. Steve Kim at Steve Kim 323. Steve Kim 323, and check him out on the 3 knockdown rule as well. Like I said earlier, like he said, they just dropped that interview with Teofimo Lopez. Of course, the fight is postponed, but it's still, they drop a lot of interesting nuggets in regards to the top rank situation. So shout out to Steve Kim. Don't forget to check out his Twitter and check him out on the 3 knockdown rule. All right.
To see what he said about Bradley, it is so funny because that kid Haymanites, he always tweets some funny shit. He says, what did he say? Oh, Shakur Stevens, right after the fight, I want to apologize for my horribly boring performance. Then it says, Shakur Stevens, 24 hours after reading Twitter, fuck y'all. Capital letters. Dude, he went after fans. He went after Tim Bradley. Oh, yeah. He did. 24 hours later, he's just ripping everybody.
You know what, Jimmy? I thought when Haney and Shakur Stevenson turned pro, near right around the same times, I thought, I think Haney's the guy who's going to be disliked by people. But now, Haney, at least, he shows up, he does what he has to do, and it's Shakur Stevenson, the guy.
Chances.
Yeah, Shakur Stevens is the guy. Shakur Stevens is the guy that gets into fights in front of the 7-Eleven. He's the guy that talks smack. He hangs around with Clarissa Shields. Fellas, I think if you want to root for somebody, I think Devin Haney over Shakur Stevenson any day, man.
Oh, without a doubt. He sucker punched that kid on the street, too.
I already knew that from like the beginning between them. I always said Devin Haney's. Look, they're both talented. Talent is talent, and some guys do it a little bit better than others. But I think that the mindset, is at least so far, I think I'm going with Devin Haney. He's more of a real boxer. He looks more of a real boxer to me.
You're never going to see that kid Shakur in a fucking beef, like a real toe-to-toe. He just doesn't have it in him. He doesn't like to get hit. I mean, he was obsessed with that mouse under his eye. I went back and watched it again. It was crazy. Kept looking at himself in the monitor.
Right?
Yeah, dude. It was fucking weird.
Like, dude, get that, man. You in a fight.
If I can take a step back to Ryan Garcia for a second, we were talking, but we're not trying to bash anybody here, guys. Okay, so but I'm seeing a comparison here. Do you guys remember all the hype coming up with Victor Ortiz? And do you remember when he first lost to Maidana? Yes. He said, I don't deserve to be hit like this. And are there similarities? You're in boxing and you took on a power puncher from Argentina, and you said you don't deserve to be hit like this. And then what he pulled against Mayweather when he did that headbutt, and then I'm sorry.
maybe Floyd knocked him out. Maybe he could have gotten up, but I thought he was trying to draw a foul.
Oh, of course he was, dude. He wasn't knocked out. That was bullshit. He thought he was going to pull a foul. 100%. Sorry to cut you off.
So, no. So we're you and I at least in agreement on this, and maybe some of the other guys in the panel are too. So what I'm getting at is now Ryan Garcia has been decked. He got up and he knocked the guy out. So far, he's passed a litmus test of a level of toughness. But based off the fact that he pulled out of a fight, like Steve Kim just said, against a guy you didn't that Haney did fight, you pulled out against. And now you're pulling this this emotional stuff, and then on top of that, going to the beach and partying. Do we start to see a pattern of like a prima donna that may not be ready? That he may have all the talent in the world. I think that Victor Ortiz had enough talent to give Floyd a tough fight, but he didn't have the heart and the mentality. In the end of the day,
exactly.
Do we see a similarity? And Ryan, I'm not saying this to diss you. If you think that I'm being a dick, prove me wrong, so I can. I would love to eat those words. I'd love to see you be an action fighter that we can rally around. But in the meantime, we got to question you.
He's a diva without the status. He's creating his own status through social media.
Exactly.
He's very talented. He's a talented guy. I like what he brings. He could fix a couple of things, but he's one of those new age boxers that they live through social media. Let's be honest, man. As long as everybody on his platform are like, hey, you're the best, don't worry about it, we got your back. He lives in that bubble,
Well, recognize, you saw that picture I sent, right? He had posted, I think he took it down. He took it down from his Instagram page.
I mean,
you know what I mean? It's like, wow, why would you post that with the towel? That's suggestive. I mean, it looked like the cover of Twink magazine, for Christ's sakes. Give a fucking break.
You look like he made the cover of Twink.
Am I wrong, dude? Come on. You know what that was targeting. You knew what audience members of his. So that was, like you said, he was already an Instagram star prior. So he already had that kind of fucking mojo going into it. I think his parents never told him no. He's from this victimhood, man, very narcissistic fucking era of kids his age. It's not about, it's what he can do for me. It's about me, my feelings.
Hey, remind me.
He falls into the trap.
Remind me never to show you guys my Instagram. Jeez, Louise, you guys are going hard on the guy. No, but seriously, I mean, yeah, it's you guys are right. I mean, it's just, the thing Steve Kim was telling us too the other day about how he was asking for money. Ryan Garcia was asking for money up front, and so that even if the fight fell through, he would still get paid. And then he pulls this with Fortuna, and you start thinking, is this guy just trying to take the easy route? I mean, I don't know. I guess, like I said before, we keep an eye on him. And him knowing that we're watching him, he's probably going to smarten up. That's what I think. It's my prediction.
And it's just not good optics, right? When first, I'm a fucking mental, I'm having, mental issues. I don't want to disparage that because it's a real thing. But listen, shut your Twitter off. Shut off your Instagram. Even if you go down to Mexico with your fucking side piece, you'll be posting shit like that. It's just not a good optics. Nobody tells him that.
Doesn't he have like two kids? Doesn't he have like two children? And he's got all that going on. He could listen. The kid is like, he's a teenager. He's making dumb teenager mistakes.
Yeah,
exactly. Nobody ever tells him no because they're all fucking hanging off his tit. So everybody wants to tell him no.
And I guarantee you that knockdown that he suffered from Luke Campbell, that scared him. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how he finished that fight. That shit scared him. So he needs a little bit more time and probably say, I'm not going to fight Linares or Fortuna just yet. I'm going to take some time off.
Well, listen, I mean, maybe, yeah, I think so too. I think probably, because again, being a professional fighter, it's a grind, man. Showing up at the gym every day can get boring, can get repetitive. So listen, it's a tough sport. Anybody that earns their bread in it deserves a modicum of respect. But then again, that doesn't absolve them from any type of chicanery that they go through. And if he's pulling out finishing shenanigans, well, what do you want? All right, listen.
He has the best of the training facilities, though, doesn't he?
Exactly. Yeah, that's
if I'm not wrong. Doesn't he train? Yeah. So he's got great facilities. They got all the top and shit. Fuck him. It's still better than fucking shoveling rocks for a living.
There you go. That's another good point. Troy and Major Key, they were interviewing Glenn Johnson. And Glenn Johnson was one of the guys that when he was a pro. He was working construction at the same time, and now they asked him, well, what you're up to, and I think he's still, he's working still. And it's not like he's in a bad place financially, I don't think, but it's just he's a guy that likes working. So now that type of dedication, if you give it to one of these kids, like Floyd Mayweather, say what you want about the guy, but he put that training in there. He was a gym rat, and that's why he became an all-time
he
great.
put in the work.
Right. These kids, they want all of that, but without the hard work, right?
They just want to give it to them because that's what they're being taught.
Mm-hmm.
You deserve that. That's it. Why do I deserve it? Because you're you.
And it must be. It's also, it plays heavy on you when you're suppressing those urges.
There's a lot of fighters that I don't like, but they're gym rats. You know what I'm saying? Look at Canelo. Canelo puts that work into the gym.
Well, he's
I'm
also
glad you brushed right over that. You knew exactly what I was saying. Right? You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, fucking that red-headed monkey.
Oh boy.
Well, listen, fellas, we have to cut it short here. We've been on for 3 hours. I gotta
what do you mean we gotta cut it short? What do you mean?
I need some sustenance, man. I need some sustenance myself. I'm an old chunk of coal. I can go on the way I used to before.
You're soft.
Speaking of
BDA, can I just say real quick? You know what we should do when Steve wants to call in? Is there another number? Like, can we just send him a Discord? Because I think what happens too when you're a caller, he doesn't hear us as good. Like, I know Steve, if he thought like a couple of times, like Jay wanted to say something, and they're talking, and Steve will talk. I guarantee it's because he doesn't hear us.
I
Do
agree.
you think if when he calls in, we should do something like send him a line? That way, he's more like that. That's not happening.
Yeah, there's a delay between what I'm broadcasting from the blog talk to you fellas. He would have to get a Discord account, which is not difficult to do. All you sign up. I don't think you even have to verify it. I think it's just you put in your email, you come up with a password, and that's it. You're in. So yeah, if you could get, because I know you talked to him on Twitter. If he's willing to do that, again, it doesn't take that much time. I mean, that would be very, very convenient for everybody.
That way you can just come in through Discord and not have to deal with that, talk, you know what I mean, not being able to hear us and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I agree, man.
Because I don't want, because he's not the type to do that, at all. So, you know what I mean? It's just because he can't hear us.
Yeah, that's. Hey, but let me tell you something. This Discord, I still love it over Google Hangouts, man. Google Hangouts was you guys couldn't hear me. At some points, I would go like, "Wait a minute, are these guys fucking with me, or what's going on here?" It's like it was a mess, man. Fucking Google Hangouts.
You said something, BDA?
Hey, come on! Don't start with me now, man. Don't start with me now. See, there you go. He stayed silent. He stayed silent because I got him. Now, but listen, yeah, man. We'll keep this going later on. Second Renaissance. I want to watch that documentary because I was looking for news to come up with something for Second Renaissance. There was nothing going on of significance. So I said,
I got some videos for you. I got some videos.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. You sent me some BitChute videos. Those should be interesting.
You might not approve of some of them, but I got some videos.
Well, we'll see what happens, man. Oh yeah, because check out. I put it on the Second Renaissance Discord. Jon Stewart. Don't go into it now, fellas. All right, because we gotta go. But Jon Stewart went on the Stephen Colbert show and essentially started saying, "Listen, this virus is quite clear. It was man-made." And Stephen Colbert was like, that nervous laughter. He didn't know how to handle that. Jon Stewart was going in on it. So when a liberal guy like Jon Stewart,
I didn't see that.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean Trump was right?
I'm having an attack. Steve Colbert used to be funny too. I won't get into it, but yeah, he sucks, dude.
Well, listen, shout out to everybody out there, man. Everybody that listened to the show, everybody that was on. Gonzalo, man, thank you for being on. Jimmy, recognize. Boxing Chief, Bucho, of course, my co-host. Well, I think he dropped out a long time ago. Steve Kim, thank you for calling in. I really appreciate it. Always a treat to talk to Steve Kim, getting the lowdown on everything going on behind the scenes. Shout out to everybody that donated too via the super chat. Everybody that called in. It was a nice, tight little show. Love it. So thank you, fellas. Thanks to everybody who joined us. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Stray G, Turo, the Quags, Verified Strange, One Foot at the Door, Uncle Burn apostrophe. What about me? Yeah, what about you? Official Scorecard Boxing. Check out Official's channel. the Coup d'etat boxing every Sunday, I believe. It shows Hardcore
Yeah, good
Master.
stuff. Good
yeah,
stuff.
Jeff Luciera.
Coup d'etat.
Coup d'etat. There